I want to see them on push. I want to see how the East is handling push. I don't think most of these heroes are real. Don't think these heroes real. I don't think this hero's real. I don't think this hero's real. I don't think this hero's real. Okay. This is probably not real either. I don't think Zarya Reaper on this map in particular is super strong, but has potential. They are playing the Zarya Reaper, it looks like. Okay. So looking at the comps, this is closer to what we're seeing the majority of teams play in North America, but now we're seeing some of the higher level teams, i.e. the Dallas Fuel, when their dominant performance we just saw live, if you guys were watching that game, ripping the Zarya Reaper a lot. And the way this composition functions in a nutshell is, in my opinion, very similar to Overwatch 1's double bubble composition. So double bubble being Winston, Zarya, the two characters with bubbles, often starts off with the Winston committing a jump. In the middle of the jump, he will get Zarya bubbled. He will land as the Zarya bubble is still intact, blocking any forms of CC that would deny him from being able to complete his jump. He would then be able to get aggressive while Zarya is gaining charge from any counter aggression onto the bubble. In addition to that, once Winston has anchored the space, he's able to put his self bubble down, his own projected barrier thing, and get some zaps off, use his little Tesla cannon to influence whatever space he's jumping into. While this is happening, during this long opportunity window that Winston affords, the Zarya core, typically a Zarya, a hit scan DPS, sometimes a Tracer, and then typically an Ana and a Brig, would follow up into this fight zone and either find a double angle pinch, like Winston would jump deep, and then, so Winston would like jump deep, and then Zarya would come here with the bubble cutting off the back of this team from any executable members here, or the bubble would just create space. They would walk into the bubble space and then use that to take what's the word I'm looking for? Uh, there's a word and it's at the tip of my tongue and I don't know what it is. But basically extra space off of the initial space they dove that doesn't force them to kite back the way they came. So a great example of this would be on Dorado First Point when you're on. So here's Dorado First Point. Let's just draw it. Here's the red building, right? Here's the little doorway. Here's where the road pushes the payload. Here's the high ground with the arch coming up here. I should be an architect, guys. Look at this beautiful drawing. Here's the high ground. Pew, pew, pew. People are shooting down at you. Here's the high ground walkway with like these little archway doors here that people try to take. As the Zarya core up here, Winston will jump, get bubbled, block off this space, forcing these people to fall back. The Zarya core will push through here, and instead of being forced to fall backwards, you can either take this space, or depending if the team hard anchors here, you could try develop onto second point. Instead of having to push forward and then fall back the same way you came, you can use all these defensive resources, the jump, the bubbles, all that kind of stuff. Even without finding kill value or stuff like that, you're going to displace the enemy team, and that's going to open up more areas around the map where your team can develop and then potentially jump further next time, or develop with ultimates. If you force them back and then have a nano, you can keep going. If you have a grab, you can keep going. Or if Zarya is high enough charge, you can force an early aggressive fight that doesn't necessarily revolve around the Winston jump itself. So it's really good comp for taking space because you cannot ignore the Winston jumping in. The way this composition functions similarly, and I think John on Twitter put out a little thing where he basically described Reaper as the main tank in this composition, is because Reaper's TP functions very similarly to Winston's jump. And the bubble on the TP, the fact that you can, like, as Reaper guy, start TPing to be over here while he's still, like, ghost forming over here, you can put a bubble on him and that bubble transfers to where he is, means it's unstoppable. It's guaranteed that he will get this TP off. Similar to Winston being guaranteed that he will get his jump off. At the very least, Reaper will end his TP in this location. What he does after that is not guaranteed, but at the very least, this is guaranteed. You can't be booped away by a Lucio, you can't be instantly slept, you can't be headshot by a Widow or a Hanzo or things like that. There is guaranteed that this will do something. This forces pressure onto the enemy team because typically smart Reaper players will force this location to be a valuable one. It will be right next to your Ana. It will be behind the enemy Zarya. It will be on a high ground that cannot be contested, and you can develop further from that. It doesn't mean he instantly gets a kill, but the pressure of this guaranteed TP forces some kind of reaction from the defenders to either give up space, to either respect Reaper's damage potential, that lets the rest of the slow-moving core develop into more space to then follow up for more aggression, or just straight up take a team fight with that double angle setup like we talked about with the deep Winston dive. Most of the time, what I'm seeing when teams do this well, like aka when the Dallas Fuel do it, teams either under or overreact to the Reaper. Either they commit like a full team-wide rotation to just get away from the Reaper, and then the Zarya is 100% free to take space, the Ana and Soldier are 100% free to take space, and then the Reaper just keeps that space, or he just goes back to the team and waits for his next TP cooldown. Or the team overreacts, and they either try to rush where Reaper just came from, or rush the Reaper themselves, either which are losing situations for the most part. Either of which result in situations where the Reaper has infinite uptime survivability window, because guess what? Zarya's got 2 projected bubbles now. He just gets bubbled again, or the Wraith covers him during the time which Zarya can't bubble him, or at the very least Wraith covers him to get back to the team after the TP. Or if they decide to rush the core where they just TP'd from, Reaper is now on an off angle pinch angle. So like here's the Zarya core, the Reaper TP's over here, the enemy team rushes the Zarya. Now Reaper's on your backline for free, getting no focus while your team is rushing into the Zarya, and then the Zarya still has a self bubble for herself, not to mention all the Soldier and Ana damage they're worried about running into. And when their team is playing a Zarya core themselves and they're rushing into this, you almost guarantee negative value trades with your own bubbles because you're not the one making a proactive move. You're the one catching up to that team fight. There's so many situations where getting the high value Reaper TP off first feels unstoppable. I don't have like a go-to answer to this. I haven't seen it in scrims. There's a lot of stuff I've seen have potential. One of the things I think is the coolest way to deal with this, that doesn't have a 100% win rate, obviously, but the Zarya Reaper TP in is a defending Doomfist. This is something Atlanta did a little bit. A defending Doomfist will punch the Reaper deeper than he wants to be, so that even if he wraiths afterwards, he might not be in range of the Zarya bubble. Or if he gets punched away and then shifts into the Zarya core, Reaper isn't hitting your backline at the same time. And then the other option is just to play more mobile DPS to better maneuver around a Reaper. This is why you see teams playing stuff like Tracer to potentially just get out of Reaper's opportunity windows and play around the bubble timings where you don't have to take a fight you don't want to, as long as Reaper doesn't find that beneficial TP. And Tracer should, if played well, always have map pressure to force their engage before Reaper finds that TP, either by pressuring out the Zarya to make her feel like she has to hit an early bubble, or by pressuring out the Reaper, or even the backline themselves if they're able to get a deep dive with the Winston, or if they have ult priority and things like that. Alright, we haven't even started the VOD yet. We're on a bit of a rant. We're 15 minutes in. I hope that all made sense as to why this composition is seeing so much more popularity in recent times. People are figuring out that it's very hard to counter just a free Reaper TP, not to mention the uptime that he gets from so many defensive cooldowns after the TP. So, again, I don't have the answer for what the right response is. I haven't seen this play out in scrims enough against enough different tools, but there's definitely ways to counter it, and I think Tracer is a good option around that. And I think on a map like this in particular, it will be a very good option because of how wide this map is, because of how many flankers are available to someone like Tracer. I think another option would be to play something like Echo and just outrange this composition before the Reaper finds the TP. Again, just annoying them, forcing bubbles out, forcing space before they're able to find that valuable Reaper TP is paramount. If, similar to countering a double bubble composition, if you play Tracer and you just shoot Monkey in the head a bunch of times, or if you're playing Wrecking Ball as well in Overwatch 1 and you just shoot Monkey in the head before he finds a jump opportunity, he's either forced to use his own bubble to stay alive because he's aggressive on an off angle trying to find a good jump, or he's going to force defensive resources from his healers or from his Zarya to make the jump less impactful and have less staying power when he finally does pull it off. I think the same concepts need to apply to this composition, and not enough teams are playing aggressively enough to counter it. They're playing too scared of the Reaper, or they're over or underreacting to their TP when it comes out, instead of playing for the windows outside of the Reaper TP. But it's hard, and teams are still adapting to it. I'm sure this will fall out of popularity eventually. It might take some nerfs. It might take some stuff where, like, maybe they even nerf Reaper to the point, like, during his TP, he loses all status effects, which could be a cool nerf and buff to him. Like, he loses ally status effects like Bubble. But then, like, how would Nano work, I guess? I don't know. I don't think they would do that. But if this becomes too outrageous, I could see a nerf like that coming through. I don't think it's too outrageous. I think it does get countered by some play styles that maybe aren't obvious yet, but we might see it. Anyway, let's get into the VOD. I think, because of how wide this map is, Tracer will be better. It's basically what all this is leading up to.
He's going to be coming up just on the Tracers while they're playing dive, regular dive.
Bellassrea, I'm not super familiar with this player, but he has to play really smart on Winston here. If he goes aggressive too early, like, Fleta just walks at him. He needs to play reactively to defensive resources being used. So what What Winston's trying to do in this composition, in a nutshell, again, is to play outside of Reaper's uptime opportunities. So when Reaper is either wraithing away, that's when Winston can try to jump in and deny healing and soldier damage angles to allow Zest to go more aggressive, to allow Aim God to look for an aggressive nade. But if he goes aggressive while there's still bubbles available, while Reaper's allowed to do whatever he wants, he just gets beamed down, he trades his bubble and his life for nothing. You can't really go first while bubbles are still available here. They're too good defensively as well as aggressively. He was the main take for T1, came along with this. Okay. I did not know that, unfortunately. I am so not caught up with the contenders scene in any region, to be honest, especially not in the enemy region, I was about to say, in the eastern region. So, let's see what happened here. How did Void die, of all people? Did Void right-click into this fight?
Very to the point, you know, just a push spot. There you go.
Really good positioning from Carpe at the start of this fight, recognizing how important this Reaper engage is. He does not want to be forced to reposition because of the Reaper TP. And yeah, Void just ran it down? Or, like, how is Void all the way up here? What did I miss? He's just running it down. I strongly disagree with this.
Very to the point, you know, just a push spot. There you go.
The only time this kind of Zarya positioning would make sense is if you're trying to guarantee attention onto Zarya, which, again, like, you would rather the double angle from your Reaper here and your Zarya running up main. I think. You want the enemy team to make a choice between who they focus, and then Zarya can react to that choice by bubbling either herself or the Reaper. And, like, you have, like, speed, and Monkey hasn't committed bubble yet. Like, you're asking to be isolated here. You're asking for both bubbles to be used immediately, and if you don't find instant value, because Carpe's not there, because Aim God gets sped away, because Belosria can jump away, and Zest's Tracer, obviously, this seems very all-in. I would do this kind of play if you knew you could, like, nano the Zarya, or if Zarya was extremely high charge and you're trying to catch someone off guard. But to open up with this kind of play seems awkward to me.
Yep. Here's Lip getting right up into Belosria's grill. Takes him rather low. They had the anti out onto him.
Almost takes down the Monkey.
Goes down first. Looks Rockets going to find a connection there. Flood up low on HP. They will pull away, but no.
Unless I'm crazy. Like, let me hold on. Okay, no, they are coming from this side. Like, he's literally just he dies here, and his Ana and Soldier, well, his Soldier was here trying to take angle, but forced back because of the bubble. Yeah, interesting. I thought maybe my brain was tricking me, and he was like, they were actually on that side of spawn, and somehow they had flipped the map that quickly. But no. Belosria, okay. Belosria.
Almost gets picked off by Carpe.
A really important meta for the head scans as well. Obviously, we're still on that initial.
I thought I was crazy for initially predicting this, but I think Monkey on cart is a genius move, because who wants to push a Monkey, right? And not only that, Monkey better than Tracer, I would say, because Tracer wants to play more aggressive, like I said, to either force out resources aggressively or capitalize on early opportunities like this, or create opportunities herself that Belosria can follow up to. That I think Monkey on cart here is actually smarter than Tracer on cart. But maybe that's specific to this comp matchup. Oh my god, 1 HP in a dream from Lip. That would have been a tragic start of this fight for Shanghai. I liked Carpe's position early on in the fight. I like Lip's position now that they're retaking space. We saw this kind of maneuvering in the Shock Houston game, except Shanghai, I think, are doing the correct thing in prioritizing this space rather than prioritizing the space behind here. Especially since they have a Reaper, they don't have a Tracer. If they had a Tracer, they could prioritize the Tracer on this side, able to collapse here and able to hit the backline as on a Soldier go this way. But with Reaper specifically, you can really force the forward aggression here, even without double angle setups that almost guarantee free space for Carpe and, for Lip and Izayaki, not the enemy team. Always get the teams wrong.
Bit of distance here. I mean, not too much pick. Looking to just go ahead and equalize as best as they possibly can. Getting a little bit of distance here. I mean, not too much picked up, only 9.5 meters, but
maybe expecting a bubble or dose of healing, not wanting to commit the, not respecting the damage from Zest there. Big anti-nade.
Managed to trade this back as Lee J gone. Gets his hands dirty. Takes out Belosria there with that man. Coming.
This is where Zarya shines in this mid-fight, where the enemy team starts getting split up, because Zarya can walk at any single target, including a Tracer, and just, like, force them to say, I can't play the game anymore. Izayaki misplaying that movement a little bit. And Zest is farming right now, my goodness. Getting that pulse bomb that early.
Some solid figures here as far as the damage is concerned, opening things up further here for the side of the Philly Fusion, and right now it's struggle street.
Just got here, but how do you feel about Zarya on this map? It seems like if the Zarya pushing robot as Dragons do here, they can't disengage and re-engage like the Monkey can, and forcing the Zarya to self-bubble instead of enabling her DPS wells. Alright. Let's go back to, so right here, this situation you're talking about, right? I think Zarya on payload is fine because it enables the deepest aggression from Reaper. Reaper can go aggressive here. Reaper can go aggressive here. Now that Reaper's dead, they literally can't take a fight. And unless they have some sort of, I mean, obviously the Ana dying too was not ideal. Unless they were really depending on Lip's Tac Visor to carry here, which they shouldn't from a losing position and lacking their main tool for creating space, they don't really gain anything from here. The best thing they could do now is try to bait aggression towards this side or try to maintain the control of the Mega Pack room so that Carpe and Aim God don't take it for free. But yeah. I think the aggressive positioning with Zarya on cart makes sense. I think Lee Jae-gon would be a better person to touch cart, personally. Obviously with Lip and Izayaki taking space for supplementary angles on the Soldier Ana, and then Fleta trying to get as aggressive as possible as long as he's within sight lines of Void. And again, Void can manipulate that space however he wants. Pushing at all relies on the Reaper finding value in advanced locations. I think creating space... So typically Overwatch is played in one of two phases, either like creating or holding space. I think creating space is almost entirely dependent on either ultimates from Shanghai Dragons or on Reaper. I think either Reaper just walking at the enemy team with bubble or with a creative TP play is very necessary. Again, I think John said it best. A lot of people are saying this, so it's not like a unique line of thinking, but John put it nicely in his write-up about the Overwatch League summaries he's been writing on Twitter. Reaper functions similar to a main tank, and I would push this further and say specifically like a main tank like Winston in Double Bubble for this composition. You don't really take space from a slow-moving core of Soldier, Zarya, Ana without being entirely predictable and all of your damage being mitigated. So you need something a little bit more creative or something unignorable like a Bubbled Reaper to force the problem here. Again, ultimates can cover that gap, like Nano Tac Visor on Lip would absolutely create space and force an opportunity, but you want to save that for like your closing resource rather than your opening resource. Fleta on Reaper is an excellent opening resource, and it doesn't cost ultimates, so you want to use that as often as you can, as beneficially as you can. Has a visor up next, so Shanghai need to do something about this quick snap. Early nano. Yep, he invested, yeah, if Reaper doesn't get a TP off and is forced to Wraith defensively like that, it seems a little bit cursed for Shanghai. Trades coming out from Lip with Attack Visor, but again, also similar to Double Bubble, if they don't start with an advantage, it's hard for them to get back into the middle of a fight, unless they can execute their... I don't like the words win condition anymore. I've been trying to stay away from them. Unless they can find their advantage state first. I'm swapping the terminology win condition for advantage state. I'm eliminating win condition from my vocabulary because it's not relevant for Overwatch 2. It's not relevant for coordinated Overwatch 2. There's no one button that wins the fight for you. And this was already trending towards the case in Overwatch 1 with recent metas of like the ball tracer. But it's way more true in Overwatch 2 because like you can't guarantee singular value in a lot of situations. The fights happen too fast. So you just need to force advantage states and then have something to push the issue even further. Because this assumes winning, very true. So if Shanghai Dragons comp can't force an advantage state sooner than what they found here, and I don't think they were doing much to force it. They were just kind of walking up as 5. I don't think they were ready for Philly to go that aggressive in the first place. Then it's hard for them to keep up during a fight. Whereas this team, this character, this character, this character, this character, can adapt to more situations. Void lacks the mobility to be there to counter as many threats as Belos Rhea. For example, if Carpe's on the flank with Attack Visor, it's a lot easier for a Winston bubble to shut that down than it would be for a Zarya bubble or Zarya's position. Because if Zarya's on cart here and then... just theoretically, this didn't actually happen. If Carpe was around here with Attack Visor, how does Zarya deal with that other than potentially bubble one character that might not die, might still die after the bubble? Versus a monkey bubble, he can either jump on top of the soldier here or just place the bubble and have the team walk forward. And that does an excellent job of just denying that space for the full duration of the bubble, which, by the way, is a crazy amount of time now in Overwatch 2 with 800 HP. Similarly, Zest on the Tracer compared to Fleta on Reaper, even if Zest forces recall compared to Fleta using Wraith, the options for developing through that fight with blinks compared to like a TP is so much harder to read, and committing defensive resources to Zest's aggression. So for example, if you're forced to bubble defensively from Zest going aggressive, that's a lot easier for Zest to just give up space for and not bank on that value compared to Reaper going aggressive with a TP and him getting booped away or slept or forced to wraith away or whatever it is. How does he get back into the fight after that unless his team is already kind of like rolling the team fight and he can just walk wherever or TP wherever he wants? So this comp is just more flexible in general because of these two heroes. They can deny and aggress more, and this composition is way more dependent on this hero's value. And if they don't force that value early, it's harder to find the longer the fight goes, unless the fight's like so chaotic and Shanghai stays alive for long enough that Philly just puts themselves in a vulnerable position to the Reaper.
Bellisria was also sitting on the mega pack, so stays alive.
It's a lot harder to predict the tempo of these fights as well. Like, it's very easy to assume fights are going one way and then just see trades come back out and it goes the other way.
It's just a couple meters away.
I mean, it's an insane bio nade from AimGod as well.
Trying to get this early cap, but they know they don't have the spawn advantage, so they do a full reset. Good macro play from Fusion. We're good to see. Love to see it. I also love that we see Zest getting aggressive in a moment like this. I think we see Zest. Oh my god, stop flicking your camera. I think this is Zest right here. Trying to position aggressively. Oh my god. Void, your sense is too high. I can't see anything, Void. Please. I think he's over there, unless I'm crazy. Look how Philly is spreading their threats. Do you know why they're spreading their threats? Because the more they stack their threats, the easier it is for Fleta to predict where he needs to be. If there's a soldier and a tracer completely out of the way from an Ana who's ready to be sped away or counterdove by a Winston, it's not as clear where the value from Reaper is going to come from. Sure, he could try to teleport right on top of a soldier, and then guess what happens? The legs run away. And again, like I said, it's way easier for Soldier to get back into a fight than it is for Fleta to get back into a fight after he's used those cooldowns, especially if Void uses a bubble on him. It's a lot easier to speed out of the fight and then come back into it with Ana sightlines, or just reposition and to tell everyone to play slower until Ana's back online, than it is for Fleta after he gets bubbled, and then maybe he gets booped after the bubble, maybe he gets slept after the bubble and has to wraith away. So many bad things could happen there that basically just gimps Shanghai's mid-fight potential. So I love this positioning from Philly. This is really good defensive positioning. I love how independently Carpe is playing. The best solution, I think, of this Shanghai could do is send Lip and Li Jiagong on a flank angle. Lip does find AimGod, so maybe that is what they're doing, but we can't really tell from this POV. Bellisria cleaning up Izayaki. I don't know why Izayaki was positioned so far up there. Let me see the approach to this fight again. So they're trying to rotate their core. Zarya on a Lucio over here, it looks like. They're sound burying. Does it not hit the Ana? Sound barrier doesn't hit the Ana. So it looks like all four of them were over here. All four except Fleta, maybe. And that's another way you could bait attention, is like even without TP, you could like move these four people in one direction while Reaper usually hangs back. I've started calling this, I don't know if you guys play chess, I've started calling this a discovered check, where instead of your engager, your initiator, whatever you want to call it, your highest damage potential, the one who's going to carry the fight being the one to aggress, i.e. through a Reaper TP. Instead, the core rotates, and when the attention goes on the core, Reaper just kind of either walks or is already in a position to capitalize on that attention. The discovered check. Really nice sleep here. Keeps Ana alive, but Ana not getting the beat there makes Izayaki drop, I think, trying to go to this Mega, and he's alone as he does so. It looks like Li Jiagong was trying to catch up to Fleta, but Fleta gets countered by Carpe, just running around the map, and obviously the beat probably landed more value than Fleta was ready for. Fleta might have been over-aggressing, trying to get Blossom off, and without Reaper, you're losing a lot of not only damage, but engage and like follow-up potential. Good isolation onto Void. He does kill Fixer, that's unfortunate, but they should get the cap here. They should be able to get this in. And then as soon as they get this, I want to see them just back off, to be honest. Everyone but Zest, maybe. And there they go.
And the other thing about Dragon's comp is it's designed to punish the main tank plays. It's designed to punish the Doom, punish the Winston.
Has Philly been watching my stream or what? This is literally like textbook how I wanted to see push played. Like the way they're manipulating the objective, I don't know why that got so tight. The way they're manipulating the objective, the way that Carpe's positioning, the way that Zest is forcing aggressive plays to force resources out, the way that Bellisria is playing Winston reactively instead of proactively. Mwah. Beautiful.
One time so far, so he's been doing a great job of staying alive.
Attack visor early from Carpe. He is just... So, what triggers this attack visor? Is it just Void's position? Because what this attack visor does, obviously it's not going to kill 5, but what this attack visor does is it burns bubbles. And I think that's good enough to warrant Bellis Rhea going aggressive and then banking on either a nade from Engod or follow up to something in my throat. Sorry. Sorry. I think okay, side tangent out of nowhere. Sorry, guys. Our fridge is broken, so I didn't have any milk for my coffee. So I'm using powdered creamer, which is gross enough, but I think I just like swallowed a chunk of it with my coffee and it got like stuck in my throat and I almost threw up a little. I'm sorry. What was I saying? So this tack visor from Carpe, I think all it's designed to do is potentially force bubbles from Void, because right now Shanghai's banking on being able to make this rotation, because this rotation opens up flank angles from Fleta, or not actually for Fleta. I think what's going to happen is Zarya Soldier is intended to hit from this angle, while Reaper, again, discovered check, forces them into this position, and Reaper can walk into this fight, but get bubbled mid-fight instead of needing a bubble for the TP, allowing for more mid-fight pressure from the Reaper, maybe even bubble for a Blossom play, but instead of just reacting the way that Philly's supposed to react here, Carpe goes aggressive, and then limits Void's potential in the mid-fight completely by forcing a self-bubble onto himself, maybe an ally bubble onto someone like Lip, or probably not Fleta, and Li Jiegong and Izayaka will probably stay back here anyway, but probably onto Lip because he wants to make this rotation more than anybody. That burns both bubbles, that limits Fleta's potential, and that means Bellis Rhea, Zest, and Aim God can look more aggressively with their cooldowns. Burn the bubbles to open up the nade. Exactly. I think nade or tracer follow-up are both fine options there, but biggest thing I think is actually it enables Bellis Rhea to go aggressive. Because again, like I said, if Winston jumps in first into these characters, he's feeding his brains out. But if he goes in without bubbles available, that limits Zarya's grab potential, that limits Fleta's engage potential, that limits Izayaki's healing potential, and since Lip is rotating, it also limits his mid-fight potential.
Doing a great job of staying alive. The supports as well, keeping it up there. Carpe's going for a
Okay, so
now
Lip's
as well.
actually staying up here, and it's Izayaki rotating with the core. I think that's whatever, I guess.
A lot of these kind of dry visors, no nano supporting them. This one's going to be pretty
Oh,
much the
Lip
only
pushing
one
in.
out.
Lip's a madman. Oh my god. They said hi, Carpe. Oh no, he got stuck on the corner. Dead to map geometry. Look at this. Oh. But Zest got Li Jiegong during that. Again, look how good this bubble is. Bubble is like Overwatch 2 is 5 vs 5. We lost a tank, but we gained the bubble. This is like as good as a second tank in a lot of situations. This is as good as Orisa Barrier ever was in Overwatch 1, even at its strongest. Like the amount of time and space that this denies from the enemy team, forcing this level of aggression from Lip. Because again, if Lip like starts aggressing but doesn't chase around the corner, and then he's stuck back here as Soldier, and same with Izayaki, Soldier, Ana, they do nothing. But luckily they went aggressive enough, but at the same time, them going this aggressive does make their position a little bit more vulnerable because of this bubble play. Like, just imagine if Carpe had lived there, and they had to, like, either keep chasing him, or he was able to come back into the fight and hit them from the back. Good, like, really good aggression from Shanghai, I will say. Das bubble.
They have the ultimates to play through as well. You need to see a lot of value out of this grab. Unfortunately, there's not great targets.
Lots of ults available for Shanghai. Grab is still an incredible ultimate, even if you only catch a single person. See that TP? And now we're seeing a reaction with the Winston jump? Ooh, who could have predicted? And then that just completely denies Izayaki, but they weren't ready for Lip's tack visor. Does kill Izayaki, but Lip should be able to stabilize this fight. Soldier pretty good mid-fight. Good play from Shanghai. Good positioning early. I think the Fleta TP was unwarranted to go deal with that Soldier. I think that's either like what you send Lip and Li Jiegong together to go do, or you just try to ignore and reposition around. But not enough respect on Lip during that engage. From, I don't even know who's supposed to deal with him there, but either not planning to either kite out his potential or deal with it directly. Alright. This kind of positioning is actually really good for Void, because like, you have to deal with Zarya, right? Either on the payload or to get through him. The downside, I think, is Reaper's very limited from inside here. Reaper would rather be like hiding in main to come out this angle, or like really deep on an angle like this to try and get aggressive onto people like Game God. But from here, he's either forced to make a very telegraphed TP play, which again, like everyone on this team has a reaction to, You're not going to do it on the Monkey. You'd be able to just walk at a Monkey if he's in a position anyway. Aimgod can be sped away by Fixa. Obviously, Fixa is Lucio. He never gets caught. Zest is Tracer. Never gets caught. Carpe has legs. Shouldn't be caught. So you need to do something that enables the TP here, and that's going to be forcing the objective in this case.
Grab combo, maybe you might want to use the grab, see where the Death Blossom
Monkey
goes
jumps
with that
in.
as
I
well.
think you need to walk at the Monkey right now, even though he has Primal.
Fusion just yet. Fixes
Oh
the
my
one
god, that was spicy, Zest. What was that? He just flew in on a magic carpet and dropped a napalm bomb from above. That looked so cool. That's a huge kill. Yeah, Primal here negates all of Reaper's mid-fight. Bubbles have been spent at this point. Not enough opening burst potential from the Reaper comp. Fled has been holding on to this ultimate since Overwatch 1. Not finding an opportunity to use it. It's not a great ultimate, to be fair. Most of the time, you're better off doing shotgun damage, especially against a single target that's a tank, like, what's the name? What's Tick-a-Talkin'? Taken? What's up, Nurse Joy? Tick-Talkin'? I like this aggression from Lip, but as we're about to see, I think Zest is all over it. I think it's unfortunate that Aimgod goes down early. I think that's just bad positioning from Aimgod's part. I'm not sure where he was that got him picked off there. Maybe he just wasn't expecting Lip to be able to do that much damage for that long. But Lip is 100% dead there. Reaper finds Carpe. It's fine to get a single kill like that with Blossom, to be honest. Oh my god, does Izayaki lives? Just kidding, Zest is all over it. Look how good Tracer is, guys. Tracer's a pretty good hero. And again, with map pressure here from Philly, even losing that fight, the fact that they committed ultimates, quite a few ultimates, I might add, and they're at payload advantage, even if they cap here because they push like a little bit further, the cap is going to take some time to flip over. Shanghai can try to set up defensively around this position, but again, like, they're going to be forced in that same corner where Void was playing most likely. Zest and Carpe and Aimgod can position wherever the hell they want to take the best fight for them here. Not to mention the ultimates they have. They could literally just run at them as 5 people with a sound barrier and probably win the fight if they wanted to. But they're going to play smarter than that. They're probably not going to try and force the sound barrier. They want to save that for the Blip's tack visor or something. Oh, not to mention friggin' Izayaki was dead, so they need to play defensively here for his space coming back in. Look at the pressure on Void here. This is a lot like we're seeing. So Zest is mainly the one here, but also Carpe's damage, I think, from really defensive positioning. I really didn't like where Void was playing here, so this is okay, this is okay. Staying on the payload here, this is where you need to wait as a tank, because you can't do anything to force space here. So either you need to wait and hug this corner and try to play like for an aggressive turn around here and try to bait them in, or maybe like a flip the map play, or you just play inside here with your Reaper, you get healed up by your Ana for free. I think maybe he thought his Ana was there on time, maybe just a little bit of miscommunication. And then you wait for either Soldier's value to come online by either defensive pressure used on him, Tracer committed to him, and then you go aggressive with the Reaper, or you wait for like a good Reaper TP potential, and guess what looks like a good Reaper TP potential? I'm really surprised Carpe's inside here, because this is like a free TP bubble right now. But because Void's getting backed out here, he might be forced to self-bubble himself, and that's probably the worst thing that Shanghai could do right now, is force a bubble onto Void, because it's about enabling Fleta. Void can enable Fleta by bubbling himself if Fleta is doing something valuable while that pressure is hitting Void. Fleta's doing literally nothing right now, so any pressure here doesn't mean anything except for lost HP and potentially lost defensive resources. In the same vein, Lip's also doing nothing right now. Pariah, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the stream.
And you pretty much can't really win this map in O2. I haven't really seen anybody win push in OT yet.
Ooh, Zest with these pulse bombs. I don't even know if these are sticks or not, but like, it doesn't even matter. And yeah, like I said, I didn't think it would happen, but like I said, they could literally just hit sound barrier and run at them and probably win, and here we go. This is definitely off the back of Void using a self-bubble, that they do this sort of level of aggression. I don't think they commit beat otherwise, in fear of Fleta getting aggressive with a bubble. But when they see Void waste a bubble, go below half HP, why not? Only caught a little spark versus Dynasty today. That was also an upset I want to look at. I don't know if we'll have time tonight, but we'll see. I tend to spend like 3 to 4 hours on these hour-long matches. Maybe I need to work on that. And again, Shanghai in this uphill objective battle, like Philly, all they have to do is take smart engages and they can guarantee a favorable fight almost.
plenty of
I
depth
like this
and
position for
penetrance
Carpe and Aim God.
Yep, I haven't been seeing too many of those grabs get built up by him either, because like you said, he's spending a lot of time
This will be his
waiting to
second grab.
respawn.
Let's get it.
Chunk
Carpe
low, Lip
running it
back
down.
to the nano goes out. Carpe on the flank,
I
looking
like
at that
Lip here.
pickoff.
I don't like this timing.
Built up by him either, 'cause, like
I
you
don't
said,
know
he's
why
spent
you
a
would
lot of
ever
time
start
be
this
his
fight
second
like this. No, he doesn't even get far enough to get bubbled. Like, I know what he's thinking. Like, in his head, he's like, oh my god, the juiciest targets in the world are right in front of me, and I have the button that just kills them all. But it doesn't kill them instantly, unfortunately. And I say this often for people playing in ranked games. Whenever you use an ultimate, you've got about 2 seconds to find value. In the Overwatch League, you've got maybe half of that before you're going to be forced out of space or dealt with. You're either going to be turned on, you're going to be slept by the sleep dart, you're going to be booped off the map by Lucio, or the enemy team's going to react defensively and get out of space that this ultimate is going to find value. So the way you widen that opportunity window, the way you buy yourself more than just maybe a second of this ultimate doing damage, is to have other resources ready to go to either capitalize on creating the space to make this ultimate find more value, or capitalize on the attention that's spent turning on this ultimate itself. So what I would have liked to see from Shanghai during this literal exact moment is, if you're starting the fight with TacVisor here, have a Reaper TPing like at the exact same moment with a bubble on him, and what the hell does Fusion do but give up space? If they try to turn on him over here, Reaper is on top of you, untouchable. You have no sleep dart. You're definitely at least forcing a nade. Here, they're even forcing a nano onto Carpe because he's got nowhere to run immediately. But that turns from a nano onto Carpe that is probably going to kill Lip into a nano onto Carpe that Lip is able to survive because he knows it's just his job to survive now and not try and do damage with his ultimate. If Fleta starts screaming that they're turning on him and he's forcing Wraith, guess what? He just re-peeks back out. But he's just running out, and Shanghai's doing nothing at the same time. Which is so weird to me, because Shanghai were the best team in the world at the Ball, Diva, Tracer, sometimes Echo, sometimes Soldier, sometimes Sombra composition with Zen Brig. Like the Ball, Zen, Tracer, those are, I would say, the three defining characters of that composition, are so dependent on map pressure from other members and instant reactions. But you're not playing Ball, you're playing Zarya. You're not playing Zen, you're playing Ana, so you need to hit the nade. You're not playing Tracer, you're playing Reaper, so you need to be preemptively lining up that TP rather than triple blinking into a fight and looking to one-shot somebody. They are doing the same type of aggro ping pong is what a lot of people call it. Like, you ping onto the Soldier, then you pong onto the Reaper. You go back and forth on different targets, and the goal here is to make sure Philly never actually capitalize on the target while Shanghai is bleeding them dry or catching them off guard and bursting them down from instant kill pressure. But there's no pong, it's all ping. And Flip's gonna be forced out and probably die. Okay, never mind, he gets fully healed up. What was blocking that? What was this? Why does it look like he's got a... Oh, that's a bubble. I was like, how does Soldier have Sigma's kinetic grasp on him right now? I couldn't even tell that was a bubble. So really clutch bubble timing from Void, but like, why wasn't that bubble up here? And now they've just used an ultimate. They traded for Nano. Arguable whether that was necessary or not. I think it was fine. I think trading Nano for TacVisor is actually pretty okay. But now Philly's got all the space to do whatever they want. They have the same positioning for Carpe. They still have Belos Ria to react to now Shanghai being forced into a corner around their Zarya. And now it's all on Fleta or maybe Izayaki to find a nade to do something valuable because Lip just showed his hand. And instead they just back up and try for the next opportunity. Except they're not even backing up. They're just waiting to be jumped. Why did they stay in that stairwell? Ooh. Oh my god. Zest! Zest is Neo in the Matrix right now. He's dodging bullets. Oh. I know why they fed. It's overtime, and they panicked. My bad, I didn't even realize the clock. So yeah, Shanghai needed to make a play there, but they had more tools than just random bullshit go from Blip's Soldier there. I don't know about that one, Shanghai. Oh no, I have to get value, let me try and force it, becomes, oh no, I fed, 100%.
wasn't as hyped up as his counterpart M3. We've yet to see
Is this a
the
symptom of not
still
attacking
come out soon. No,
proactively? This is a symptom
but
of
honestly,
not
these
syncing up your
flying
resources
pictures
when
all the way
acting
to Rise
proactively.
Academy,
Lip was very
really
proactive
not
there,
even
and it
really
almost
surprised
cost him
that
his
a lot of
life,
people
and it
down
cost them
teams on
positioning,
Texas
and it
taking
cost
down
them
the Dragons
Void's
and
bubble,
very
and they got
close
nothing in return.
opening map
They got nano in
of
return,
2023
but then
for the
they
eighth
died
division.
afterwards.
The defending champions of the Shanghai Dragons
Shanghai DPS are
are
trying
down
super hard to
one
carry and
to
are putting themselves in bad positions because of it.
Yeah.
Shanghai are
Not a lot
playing
of people
as if the enemy,
anticipated
as if their
much.
teammates can react to what they're doing instead of trying to coordinate what they're doing together.
Be a bit of a
They are
push.
playing.
Or,
This is going to sound like a weird comparison. They're playing European football instead of American football. And right now, American football is king. It's not enough to mark the right space and be available for good opportunities when they happen to come about by playing the field. You need set plays to counter the set defense. At least when you're playing this composition, you do. Because it's so obvious what you're trying to do. With Reaper, at least. And Zarya, I should say. Why are you bullying soccer? There's nothing wrong with soccer. Shanghai, so the reason I bring this up as a comparison is because Shanghai Dragons coach, Coach Moon, last year, when they became so dominant at the Ball Tracer Zen meta, compared his coaching style and their strategies to soccer. Compared to the way that they mark space and players rather than thinking about set plays and executions. When you're playing a very linear style composition, you need clean as fuck executions, otherwise you don't get to make the plays, as we saw exemplified by Lip there. Feels like they have weak comms, like they aren't communicating as much. I think their comms are probably, I mean, I have no idea, obviously. I have no idea what even, like, maybe Korean comm structure is like completely different compared to NA comm structure. I have no idea. But I think they're communicating the wrong things. I think they're putting priority too much on individual pressure. Like you said, I wouldn't word it as their DPS are trying to carry, but they're putting too much pressure on individuals to react correctly in certain situations rather than setting expectations for each other in pre-fight planning. And you see teams get away with this when they're just flat out better, because you don't need to coordinate when you're just better. And Shanghai at the ball comp was just better. Their instincts on that composition were absolutely bonkers. You saw them completely decimate the Dallas Fuel. I would say Dallas Fuel has a tendency towards the other side of the spectrum of being one of the better coordinated teams and understanding their roles for specific types of plays rather than just like compositions in general and unique situations in general. And they're better at fast execution of those plays, like what we saw, like the sim rush comps that they would run. Like, no team gets away with that unless you have such clean comp structure and planning and execution. But also, no one gets away with Shanghai when they play the Ball Tracer Zen comp like Shanghai does, because they have that level of instinct and understanding of each other's playstyles to instantly react to situations. Zarya and Reaper don't instantly react, I guess Bubbles, but Zarya and Reaper's pressure cannot instantly react to something like a Lip Sack Visor there. And that might be a structure issue. Why are we watching a break, by the way? My bad. That might be a structure issue, but more than anything, I think Shanghai's stuck in season 1 of... No, season 1. They're stuck in Overwatch 1.
On that T1 squad that a bunch of these rookies from Fusion come from. MN3
What I imagine is happening, so to your comment shuffle, I'll just read it out loud. So the DPS are trying to make plays without communicating the need for resources to enable the playmaking, or Void is putting priority resources elsewhere instead of where the DPS need them. I think it's actually not even that complicated. I think the DPS... I think everyone on the Shanghai Dragons is calling that they're making a play, and the other characters that they're playing with physically cannot follow the play. Like Reaper and Zarya are too slow to keep up with the tempo that Lip was playing for. I think they're just playing too fast. I think they're just trying to they're trying to force plays that aren't for themselves, that are team-wide plays. Like that Lip Tac Visor obviously wasn't going to kill 3 people if you know coordinated Overwatch, but they weren't ready to wait. They weren't willing to wait half a second for Reaper to start his TP timing. They weren't willing to wait half a second for Izayaki to line up the nade. They weren't willing to wait half a second for Void to have a bubble prepped for when he rounds the corner. Little things like that. They're just acting individually too fast for what this type of macro needs, which is a little bit tighter execution. The thing about Overwatch 2, I would say across the board, that's the biggest difference in pro play from me to Overwatch 1, is the fights are decided almost instantly. And not obviously instantly, like obviously when there's like sound barriers and shit like that, like going back and forth, like there's a lot of things that delay a fight, but who's going to win the fight isn't clear until like the first exchange of resources go back and forth, but you rarely get to the second exchange of resources like you would in Overwatch 1. Like, you're not burning through and this is kind of obvious when you think about it, like, you're not burning through 2 tanks worth of defensive resources to the point where you can get to the meaty center of carrying and killing everyone on the enemy team. You're just going through 1 tank, which are, in the case of Zarya, has very concrete resources in the form of her bubbles, and then once you've got those out of the way, as long as you've done a good job of getting those out of the way, and you haven't lost anyone along the way, and there's no crazy ultimates on the enemy side that you have to deal with after the bubbles, you kind of just win, as long as you're still able to go aggressive. Straight to the meaty center. The center of the Tootsie Roll. Or the Tootsie Pop? What is it? I don't know. Zarya comp can't move at the speed of their ball comp net. Exactly. I think that's the tempo difference that Shanghai's struggling with right now. And I have no doubt in my mind that they will adjust to this, but it's crazy to see them that disconnected during such a clutch moment when they, they needed to win that fight, right? And they didn't even try, it seemed. No offense, Shanghai.
Prime time for someone like MN3 to shine and prove himself to be one of the better rookies, if not.
I would love to see MN3 roll out in the Sojourn, but I'm guessing it's Widow, yeah.
Because Proper does exist, but MN3's going to try it.
I've been really liking this TP play early on, by the way, to get people like a Zen and a Widow into early space. Just kidding, we're not playing Zen.
Right, MN3 versus Lip.
This is interesting to me. I imagine this will be. I should say I hope this will be swapped as soon as they recognize they have a Zarya. I'm not sure if teams are playing Brig as a Widow counter or not, because there's not many supports who can contest Widow angles the same way like a shield from Brig does. And you kind of need stable positioning for Aim God. So it looks real boring. It looks even more boring than playing Brig and Goats, to be honest, where you're just playing Brig like purely defensively for sightline holding. And that sucks. But I'm seeing so many Brigs on this map in particular just like sit in the backline waiting for something to happen, and then maybe in the mid fight, or maybe if they've rallied too, they get aggressive. But like they're just waiting. Like, what does Brig do to either of these DPS, right? What does Brig do compared to a Zarya in your front line? The only thing Brig really has that I can tell is a shield to block Widow shots. And that's so boring. I hate that this is a thing. Instead, I don't know what I'd do instead, because I don't know what teams are having success with, but I would literally rather see like a Mercy to pocket Zest, and then just have Aim God play safer. Play Mercy, Zen, Sigma, even. And then you just pocket Zest. Sure, he has to play a little bit more aggressive to force Widow sightlines, but like you have a Sigma shield to guarantee your Widow has priority, especially on attack. I think this is really important. And then you play off aggressive opportunities with nade angles, and you don't even play for healing up time, because you're playing for Widow more than anything in this composition, I would say. You play for nade timings in the mid fight, and you can just wait for those to happen based on pressure from Zest, forcing bubbles potentially, or forcing Lip to play defensively, and then you snowball space from that. I don't know. It's probably good. Like, these guys know what they're doing, obviously. I just think this comp's real boring. I think specifically this character in this comp is so boring. It's like, it's the path of least resistance, you know, but it's not fun. It's not creative. It's just like, okay, play Brig because we can. I almost think that they're playing for the echo value, to be honest. I'm really surprised. Oh, shit. He swapped Mercy. I'm a genius. I'm a wizard. I think this would best work with a Sigma, but it can work with bubbles if you prioritize them on Zest as well, similar to how you play with Reaper. But I think this is way better on attack specifically as well. What was I going to say? I think you definitely play for Echo value, but you can't force Echo's value. I think the thing that you need to do to guarantee Echo has value is pressure from Fury and pressure from Widow sightlines. And you can't really use Echo to guarantee those unless you force bubbles out of Void or something like that, which is really, really hard to do safely against a defending Widow, of course. So it's a really hard ask for Zest to do much in neutral unless he's getting bubbled by Fury, unless there's like a Sigma shield setting up MM3, stuff like that. So I'm guessing what we're going to see here is Zest going aggressive, setting up angles with Zarya bubble. That's going to force defensive bubbles. That's going to line up Widow sightlines and on a nade timings. I can't believe they swapped Mercy, dude. No teams in NA are doing this, by the way, and I hate it. I don't know why.
Big difference here is that Fixer's actually going to be pocketing both Zest and MN3 at various times as
Ooh,
well. Actually,
well, not Zest during that timing, I guess. He probably got body shot by the Widow. Didn't see.
So first blood going the way.
Really good positioning from Lip there. So MN3, sorry, not MN3, Zest. I mean, MN3 is on a very obvious sightline. There's a very clear Widow sightline here, right? So it's easy for Lip to LOS that by playing down here, and he's got a decent sightline onto Echo's in the sky here, or trying to go over the skybox here. And of course, if you try to go over the skybox with the limited mobility post shift that Zest has on Echo, also very easy for Fleta to respond to that from the sightline as well. So like I said, it's really hard for Zest to get in here, but at best, I think what Zest tries to do is force Void's bubbles. And Void playing this aggressively doesn't seem impossible to do that. Even like a body shot from MN3 could help force that bubble as well. And maybe even force a defensive nade, which would be like a pot of gold.
Dragons, neither of the Widowmakers finding too much value here. It is super interesting that both
Oh my god, MN3 with the
the
grapple. Yeah, look at that bubble. Oh! That was so cool. They grapple up. I don't know why Fleta's shifting in the air here. And he's not even getting bubbled by Void. Oof, Shanghai, what are you doing? So aggressive here. You know he has a Mercy Pocket, number one. Either one of these people have a Mercy Pocket. It's not like a hard pocket here like you'd see with a Pharah on a flank on something like, say, Rialto, I guess. This is like, the reason the character is played is because of the instant heal pressure. Obviously, the damage boost is nice, but the instant healing, especially in Overwatch 2, is actually kind of nuts. It almost guarantees that Fleta, as long as Fixa's paying attention to wherever Fleta's going aggressive, won't get a kill with their beam, because Fixa will be able to keep them above half HP almost entirely, unless, like, Lip hits a headshot, Fleta hits, like, all their sticky bombs or something crazy, which, very hard to do in a situation like this.
Super interesting that both
So Fleta actually does get bubbled, but then stays aggressive. Like, who is Fleta beaming right now? No one. Everyone's full HP, Fleta. Just get out. And then, yeah, if you haven't seen Echo duels, this is exactly what happens every single time. Whoever shifts first and stays aggressive for too long gets absolutely rocked. Good coordination with the bubble from Fury, obviously. But that was Fleta getting over aggressive 100%. Like, just instantly cancel that beam, drop down, get back to Lee Jae-gon.
And obviously no res going to be available here for the side of the
Oh, the right click made him miss his headshot. But it doesn't matter, he dies anyway. Oh, and now Zest. Oh my god, Philly looks so good.
Actually gonna get dove on, they go into the backside, and the beam will kill him off. Trade on the Widowmakers here.
Biggest difference here between the kills onto like Lip and MN3 there is that Lip's death takes way longer to come back from, obviously, and this is just a general rule of playing Widow on attack versus Widow on defense. If you die on defense, you give up space. If you die on attack, you give up time. And unless we're at like literal overtime fights, you're 100% taking those trades on attack.
He somehow managed to get all the way behind all the Shanghai Dragons members. Lee Jae-gon's pushed up super far forward.
Oh boy, there's some D.Va coming up.
Huge cleanup. They lose Fixer for Shanghai Dragons.
I don't know how I feel about D.Va on either of these sides. I think I'd rather see Sigma.
Still waiting for any sort of Widowmaker presence to be shown. I believe MN3 does have a kill so far.
Ooh, MN3, I like the aggression. Have you guys seen this bug, by the way? This railing doesn't actually exist. You can shoot it and break it, but it doesn't actually exist. You can, it will take a shot like a railing, but you can just walk through it, like Lip does right here.
MN3 does have a kill so far. Lip yet to get
Oink.
a final blow just yet.
They removed it from the beta client, but I guess it's still in the pro client. Spark played D.Va on Ilias well. Oh, okay.
Battle over the corner. Neither of these Widowmakers can find an opening kill.
My Discord was having a heated debate about whether D.Va was worth playing ever. Obviously in pro play it's different than your average game. MN3 is getting very aggressive with these, yeah. You can't do that forever. And this is why this character is so hard to find value with. Like, unless you get a bubble and someone gets like a ton of value, like, you run out of steam and you just wait for your next bubbles. What I'd like to see instead is probably prioritizing a grav play and then Fury self-bubbling, maybe even with Nano, and just walking through the enemy team. That will enable MN3 and Zest to get aggressive themselves with something like a Mercy Pocket. I would love to see the switch up here of the focus on the Fury. Again, like, the range here kind of sucks, but you've got targets to walk on, and at the very least you'll force Void's bubbles. That'll lead up to Ana nades that are a lot easier to hit from the attacking team when yours already is nanoed, and you don't need to worry about defending Ana nades in the same way.
Rez looking to come out, but he's gonna double down. He gets as well.
Nice shots. Oh my god, Lip, you're doing okay, bud. Nice job.
In the dirt. And that is the Lip Widow performance.
And that's one push dead.
Yeah, it took him a while to warm up there, but warm up he does. He's firing up 3 kills in quick succession. Ruins the timing for Fusion there as well, because Fury was slightly ahead of Void in terms of grav charge. Not too sure if they understood that.
Yeah, still can't hold close, unfortunately. They want to play the most defensive corner for their Ana here. Dragons do. Nano available for Izayaki. I wouldn't be surprised to see an early grab from Void, but not to like win the fight, to try and draw out as many ultimates as possible and then using a Nano to win it. Chat is no longer hidden.
pushing forward really
Oh,
aggressively.
that was dangerous.
Could have gotten Aim God right there. Would have been devastating. Would have forced the res.
Oh, Aim God.
Doesn't manage to do so. Instead, we'll just go ahead, grapples back.
Nice timing from Zest, but doesn't find the stickies.
Zest,
Fury's looking for a grab himself, I think.
Kill.
Lip is unstoppable, my goodness.
Right back in. There's the
I guess
res
who's
now.
playing Mercy?
Waiting for it. It's not going to be able to find the timing to try to get the instant punish.
Valk coming through. Valk doesn't. Oh, Void has slept. Okay, never mind. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. 45 seconds here remaining.
I love the ping system, dude. I love seeing pros ping widows like that.
Kind of missing a couple of
So
shots.
cool.
The Valkyrie has all but kind of been wasted now. You do have a Duke plus grab online, but Flitter's got one here as well. Where's that grab going? It's all the way in the back.
He just yeets the grab at the Ana. This is the beauty of Overwatch 2, baby. There's no permanent diva everywhere, and you can actually make plays that are fun. Look at this grab. He literally yeets it from cart, and the only follow-up are right clicks from Zarya and like sticky bombs and left click shots from the Echo here. This is so ballsy. I love it. But again, this grab play isn't to win the fight. It's to like force a defensive reaction, and then guess who's ready to get aggressive? MN3 and Aim God are going to be looking for nades and headshots right now. And obviously, Widow's not the most consistent damage dealer, but this is a much more consistent way to approach this fight for someone like Widow than it would be traditionally if you're just trying to take the grapple shots we've been seeing or just try to force Fury into an aggressive position. I kind of wish we had Nano available still for Aim God, because this would almost guarantee a fight win for Fusion, but getting this kill on Ana is huge. Does he get the Nano off before he dies? No, he thought he was going to live. Oh, wait, no, okay, he does get the Nano off, but it was actually a headshot from MN3. If they knew like the headshot was imminent from MN3, I kind of wish... I mean, I'm min-maxing too much. I'm getting so nitpicky. I love that play. That was sick.
Yeah, well into the back. MN3 does manage
What I was going to say is Echo could have been getting more aggressive instead of looking for the follow-up damage, knowing that MN3 can line up the headshot. But I guess there's also the Zarya bubble and Brig Shield to worry about, so that's not 100% guaranteed. They knew they had to kill Ana, and now Shanghai's trying to clap back. Oh, MN3 on the Widow. I love Widow players, dude. Lee uses rally too. I didn't even see the rally, to be honest, but yeah, Void dying there, less than ideal.
Well, I think a lot of that just comes
Widow
down to
pushing
Blitz
card here
presence
is
in the last
fine.
2 minutes of A, right? We're talking about the Infosite coming online. Huge
You want
respect
Aim
being
God
shown
aggressive
by
to try and line up a
Fusion.
nade time and try and force early bubbles so that Zez can try and find like a one-shot opportunity. Ooh, they're using bubbles for grapple shots now.
They have an ultimate advantage, and they couldn't use an ultimate advantage. Eventually, the difference maker for
Is Zest going to be able to get aggressive here? What they could do if you're Fusion, so you need to know that they've got no ultimate right now. Like, Widow ultimate's charging, that's not an ultimate, right? I think what they need to do right now is commit to a nano on Zest to force, or like you commit to an aggressive play on Zest to force, and you bubble him to force at least a single bubble, and you bubble Zest and get some charge for Fury, and then you nano Fury aggressively, and he saves his second bubble for mid nano to try and outplay stuff like Sleep and Nade. I think that's your most consistent win condition here, and that shuts down Lip the most, because Lip can't do much against a Nano Zarya in the front line, more than anyone. You'd also be able to walk forward as... Like, that's the point where Brig would make sense, but then I guess you would just trade, like, you would just damage boost the Echo during that time and hope for more consistent value. And then MN3 takes a free angle. Aim God would look for a nade and then fall back to cart, probably. That's what I would do if I was in Philly's situation right now. Try and play for Fury instead of Zest, because Zest is going to have a hard time getting through 2 bubbles. But he could force 1 at least with a bubble on himself and on Mercy Pocket. Probably even just like throw all your stickies onto Void with the damage boost. He self-bubbles, you throw a nade on him, and you nano Fury. He's forced to second self-bubble. That limits these people from doing much of anything. Unless Izayaki equalizes with his own nade or Lip hit with a headshot. Becomes a hard situation to react to. But let's see what they do. Win condition. I hate the term win condition now. Friendship with win condition ended. Advantage state is the new terminology that I'm coining myself. I think it just makes more sense, and it's less limiting with the idea of a strict win condition. But the way you force advantage state here is you force Zarya bubbles out. That's the one thing stopping you from getting all-in aggressive, and you know you have ultimate pressure here because they don't have anything to respond to a nano play. So how do you make the most advantageous nano possible? You force bubbles with something like Zest Aggression. Yeah, my bad. I'm working on it. Work in progress, you know? It's like Cassidy. I gotta train my brain to not say it anymore. To not say the forbidden name. But let's see what they actually do here. Self-bubble early on Fury, I hate personally. I don't know why this is being used, but whatever. Maybe they're trying to play slow enough, knowing that they have ultimate pressure, that even without bubbles, as long as Fury's getting consistent charge here. So Void self-bubbling I hate way more, to be honest. There's no reason for this. Void needs to be playing for his DPS here. They need to be playing for Fleta. And I'm going to be strict on this. I think bubbling for charge in either of these people's cases is absolutely not the play. I can defend it more on Fury because they have a play to make afterwards and that can cover the lack of bubble. So like if Shanghai tries to get aggressive here, they just nano Fury and it doesn't matter that he doesn't have another bubble. But Shanghai here, using a single bubble on Void, just like I said, now Zest is getting aggressive. They're actually going to be nanoing Zest this time. Maybe that's off reaction of Void using a self bubble. He's going to get bubbled himself. And then Void's going to either have to bubble whoever gets stickied or himself after he gets walked on by the front line here. I don't like that play from Void.
Back into it.
You never trade bubbles like that.
His lip is going on a bit of a walkabout. He's coming around the backside. Zest nano up into their
Tons of
faces.
damage, lots of space acquired.
Get the hits
This is
through.
why I wanted to see a nano onto Fury instead. Because during this exchange right here, Zest could be doing less damage, obviously, with just a Mercy Pocket and a bubble, and he still is enabled during basically the same timing. And then by the time he's done his exchange here, the rest of this nano like doesn't really matter. Versus if we were nanoing Fury right this second, as he's walking into these people, and assuming he's at least like 50 energy, he tears through all three people in this corner.
Into their faces, the beam not gonna be able to
But
get the
instead,
hits
he's forced to
through.
play a
They're
little
gonna
bit
take
scared.
Void down.
And he actually
Have
goes
to
down.
reposition.
And Lip is playing like an absolute maniac on the flank. I love this play from Lip, actually. That's really smart Widow play. He knew that he had no business staying like if he stays in the back behind the team here, he just doesn't shoot anyone. Fleta's nanoed invincible. Void has bubbles, is a tank. These people will be playing safe. Sorry, wrong characters. Zest is bubbled, nanoed, invincible. Fury's a tank. These people will be playing relatively safe. MN3 might even be watching, trying to get an aggressive angle himself or going for a grapple. The unexpected play here, I'm assuming he wrapped down here and then repeaked, is so cool. The only problem with it is it kind of banks on Shanghai surviving this exchange. They not only survived it, they equalized on big kills. They killed Fury before that as well. So a bit of a gamble from Lip, but I think that's a smart play. You need an equalization play there with no ultimate pressure. Good play from Shanghai. But more than anything, I wasn't a fan of the way Fusion committed nano there. I think it was too all in too early. Again, like Void committed self bubble, so I could see a reason to go all in there, but I think it's more consistent to nano Fury unless he's literally 0 energy. Or like, I should say like below 40 energy. I would love to see an average energy rate. Oh my god. Fleta with the schmoves. A nice sleep, but he's more than fine. I'm actually surprised he committed shift there. Again, like, little things like that are, to me, this is more of a communication issue, weirdly enough. I don't know why my brain is like this, but this feels like more of a communication issue to me than Lip's play on New Queen Street when he went aggressive and there was no follow-up. Because that play is like a little more obvious. They just messed up their timing because their instincts were wrong. This is very clearly like, you don't need to shift away here. Like, this is Void yelling, I have bubble. And Fleta backing out. And obviously, this doesn't matter at all. But if you do this mid-team fight and it limits your potential as Echo to find a kill that matters during the mid-fight, this is the same as... What team were we watching that absolutely dropped the bag? I don't remember, but it was on Eichenwald, and there was a Reaper trying to go inside castle, and he wraithed in. At the same time as he was wraithing, he got bubbled, and then as soon as both wraith and bubble were expiring, he went for the Death Blossom, and he got obliterated, because there was nothing for him. And they tried to nano him, and he died before the nano got to him. It was Rain. It was Rain versus... It was Houston versus Shock? Or was it Rain? I don't remember. But yeah, that was terrible. And this is the exact same situation, just obviously not as punishing. Justice Rain? Okay, my bad. Sorry. Yeah, and yeah, that's why I was surprised because like Justice absolutely shit on Rain, right? And then Rain with that comp was looking better, but they clearly didn't have the communication structure for situations exactly like that. Any overlap of defensive resources like that will inherently put you a little bit further in the hole. I'm sorry, Archer. I'm busy right now, and you love to bite my wires, so you got to get out of here. But yeah, that situation should never happen. This is a much less punishing situation, but it's the same thing on paper.
But it's well deserved. He put in his effort for sure.
And that's just a waste of a
2
bubble,
kills
right?
come through. Aim God again now
Or a
going
waste
to
of
fall.
fly, however you want to
Just
look at it.
pile in on top of the Fusion
And again,
members.
literally doesn't
As
matter.
well.
They could do
Martin
anything
now
they
starting to
wanted
roll
there,
back.
and maybe they knew that. That's why it happened.
A plethora of ultimates about
But
to come
shouldn't
online
happen
here from the
anyway.
side of the Fusion, but we need to be able to utilize them.
It's the ultimates coming online on the other end there as well, though. The
Oh,
rally
they
is
saw
coming
him.
online. You grab, get the duplicate. Flitter found out, though, he is mispositioned, technically speaking. Doesn't have a fly available. Flitter could very well go down here. Probably will go down here.
Yeah.
And that's
Oh,
the
those were
party
some...
for the
Oh my god, he almost got Zest. Fleta's
Almost
nuts,
trades
man.
it out there
And during all...
Zest.
Why in the world
Fusion looking for.
is anyone even in the sight lines of the enemy team right now? You have a free win right now if you're Fusion, and instead you get equalized. And you're not the one with... I guess you are the one with the res. But yeah, that seemed
Almost trades it out
unnecessary.
there and best Zest, but meanwhile,
Guess just
Dino
wasn't
Earth's
expecting
Heart
him, but I don't
finds
know.
yet another kill. MN3 going to be taken down yet again.
Walk
For a
about.
little bit more. Rez going to be forced out all the same. Jumps back up onto the high ground.
The res is nice, obviously, and then, yeah, Fleta's going to be far, but he does have copy coming in.
Zest starts pushing through.
Cookie cutter aggression, bubbles traded back and forth. That's better for the attacking team than it is for the defending team.
7 seconds remaining as they will go ahead and touch the card.
Fury gets grabbed. They don't have a nano for him, but he's getting healed through. Wait, okay, never mind. I didn't. Again, I keep forgetting about the clock. Good defense, Shanghai.
But they didn't make it too far past point A. Shanghai
That means
Dragons
Shanghai doesn't even
alive,
push it that
looking
far.
scary on that defense.
Damn.
I think I really
With
got
Lip
the
performing
fix
like
there.
this
I
on
had the
Widow?
opportunity to touch the
Damn.
payload, did not do so.
My APAC
Trying
pickums are
to
ruined, and
space
now I'm
off
very
Fury,
uncertain about Shanghai versus
got solo
Hangzhou.
grab just
Yeah,
slightly off the
that is a
payload,
hard one to
so
judge.
like you
I
sort of
think
mentioned there,
I need to
no
say
one touched the
Hangzhou,
payload,
but
at least
Shanghai
flames,
still
no
looks like
one
an
touched the payload.
incredibly gifted team.
Difficult to say
Their
what
lineup's
would
insane.
happen
I know,
because,
Archer,
I
you
mean,
just want to be the
Fury
star of the
could still
show.
actually died in that
All the
position.
time, huh?
Point for
You
now.
just want to be
He
the
had a
streamer.
Very, very slow start to begin with. Wasn't showing a lot of presence. MN3 wasn't getting a ton of kills, but he certainly
On
put
the
some
Wicked
damage
Fury
on
grab,
the
can I get your
board.
opinion
Had
on the
one at
Brig
the end
positioning?
of the third.
All right, we are at 28-30, or we're just about to start the next round. That's easy enough. Where was that grab?
He's firing up 3 kills. in
It was coming
round
up here, right?
kills With a lot of
On the there. Kill. He's waiting for it. He's not going to be able to find
Is this
Does
it?
get woken up.
Valkyrie, but every kind of on the back
Did
when they
I-
get these young.
Yeah, okay. So, obviously, Shanghai is not expecting this grab. It's about to come out over here. Brig is instead pressuring card, and this is the only way Brig does anything relevant in neutral, is control space that's relevant around the objective. You don't control flanks anymore on Brig, really. I mean, you can. I mean, there's nowhere to control on this map anyway. But you don't control flanks against Widow Echo specifically. They just outmaneuver you or play longer sightlines or vertical sightlines that you cannot influence. So contesting the objective here means that Void can either play more aggressively around his DPS or can just play purely reactively instead of potentially getting stuck himself. Like, Lijigon has a shield that they want to use as much as possible from either Fury's damage, Zest, and stuff like that. So, in a nutshell, he would be getting more from blocking this and being there to block the headshot, obviously, or blocking the Widow and blocking the Widow headshot in response or kind of thing. But what he's trying to do is relieve objective pressure away from Void to make sure that Void can look more proactively with bubbles, I think. Or the other option being Shanghai's looking for a grab play themselves, and Lee Jae-gong wants to be there to follow it up with all the good stuff. So, when the grab comes out, the rally's right here. Not a bad use of rally, to be honest. I think the best way Shanghai come out ahead in this situation is they use this rally to get aggressive. They should still have at least one bubble. They're going to commit it onto Izayaki to keep him alive. Just kidding, he's gone. And they try to run back. Void turns around. Fleta, I don't know where he's looking specifically, but now it looks like he's turning back around here. I think the best way you take this fight is you actually just equalize onto Void. Sorry, onto Fury, if you're Void. And they have ultimates to allow that. Izayaki just needs to get his nano off. I would almost rather like an aggressive nade himself as well, and then you just either rush Fury or rush Aim God. You don't really have the potential to control Zest here. You kind of have to bank on Fleta being able to find an opportunity, because obviously Zest is shifting aggressively here. Fleta can counter shift here. We've seen Fleta almost burst down a pocketed Echo by himself anyway, so he's got the mechanical prowess. They've got walls ticking, but the way you can relieve some pressure off of Lip here is just to get aggressive so MN3 doesn't have the same sightlines available. He can still go for grapple shots and try to pick Lip off here, but you need to equalize if you have any chance of winning the situation. But instead, they react purely defensively, both in terms of positioning, resources used, all for Izayaki, who dies anyway, and then they've got nothing to get themselves back in. I doubt they have bubbles ready to go. Fleda's very scared to go aggressive with copy.
Yeah, well into
He tries to force it. He almost goes down before he gets the copy off, but he tries to force it. Copies onto Zarya, gets instantly deleted with a nice headshot from MM3. Really good plays, obviously, from MM3, but you can see there's no pressure on him right now. They're trying to catch up in terms of pressure onto Philly's backline, and it's not enough at this point. Going aggro seems good. I would think so, but obviously a hard situation to react to because who's ready for that grab? Wait, they played Zarya on this map. Surprised since even Dallas opted into Sigma. I think Sigma is stronger in a lot of neutral situations. I think these teams play for Echo aggression or Reaper aggression almost entirely when they play Zarya. But, I don't know. Kind of hard to judge based on this map alone because I think there's just been a lot of just like picks and favorable trades that are defining a lot of fights rather than macro play. So maybe they're just playing for DPS pop-off potential. Again, not a fan of Brig on attack here. I really don't think she does much.
Right, you look at New Queen Street, Bellatrix on the Winston, and just a general dive composition for the side of Fusion was so strong, put Shanghai on the back foot in terms of tempo the whole time. Here, playing a more slow, Zarya-based composition, you're playing into kind of Void's territory here now. Void wasn't able to have his game on New Queen Street. Now he can because it's Zarya versus Zarya.
All right, well, Zest again.
Now he can because it's Zarya versus Zarya.
What? Where is this happening? Am I blind?
Void wasn't able to have his game on New Queen Street.
We see a nade fly up here. No one's hit by a nade. That was Izayaki's nade. That's got to be Lee Jaegon trying to take this space so that Lip can then peek there. But Zest just melts him.
Now he can because it's Zarya versus Zarya.
How is Void not able to bubble Lee Jaegon? Or how is Fleta not going aggressive with a bubble to counteract Zest right now? Because if Zest is able to get a kill like this, without either A, he should be committing shift in order to be able to find this kill. And if he's not committing shift, was he just hiding there and assassinating? It's impossible to tell from the sightline, unfortunately.
Some solid numbers here for the side of the Fusion.
Yeah, okay, so I'm guessing he was just hiding there and got like full stickies for free.
Good early kill to find. He fishes out for a
if I had to guess.
To
but in the same way, like, yeah, like how does Fleta just not instantly respond to that? Is Fleta looking aggressively before Lee Jaegon set up again, acting too independently? I don't know. I wish we had the replay viewer.
Defending for MN3 helps
Very
out.
safe angle from Lip here.
His sort of KD and stats any bit.
Nice reactive
really
bubble.
Testing Lip's aim there, lands the body shot, the bubble coming in late as well. I mean, Fury
that's a really huge headshot. That should force a lot of space, actually.
Could have been Zest punished, and that would have been a massive push for Shanghai. The confidence shown by Lip now.
Unfortunately, they have to deal with Widow. I would like to see Lip not challenging this.
And he will do so.
All right, well, already good amount of distance picked up here for the side of the Shanghai Dragons as the bridge is just conceded by the
They're just waiting for the grapples. This reminds me so much of Season 1 Overwatch League, where the Widows are just trying to pick each other off every opportunity. This is awesome.
7-3 set back, has a bit of covering fire here.
Really good aggression from Void and Fleta there. They force a bubble onto Echo, I'm assuming, because she took no damage there.
Trying to play around the corner. 7-3 set back, has a bit of covering.
Yeah, those are stickies.
Fire here.
Okay, she did take some damage, but she got instantly healed by
shots in Fleta, but does manage.
See, like, what I don't like here is that this aggression has no follow-up. They commit a bubble, they commit Fleta's cooldowns, and again, it's like committing the Reaper TP, right? It's like committing a Reaper TP, and then afterwards, Reaper's forced to either play slow or snowball off his advantage. The advantage here is that you're forcing bubbles from Fury, and you're taking a little bit of space because Zest is forced to back up, and you need to develop off of that. If you're Shanghai, you need to develop off of this with either an aggressive angle for Lip, which is probably hard at this situation, or a nade opportunity from Izayaki, probably onto Fury. This would either force the second bubble to come out immediately. If Fury gets naded right now, he's dead if he doesn't have a bubble, or it forces an opportunity for Lip to try and take an advantageous reaction here, because guess who MN3 is looking at? Not Lip, but instead we're seeing only Fleta go in. Like, look at the rest of the team. Now Lip's taking a peek. Now Void's like behind the payload. What are we afraid of when we're throwing? All right, you guys ever play CS:GO? This is the decoy nade, right? We're throwing a decoy nade. We throw the decoy. It makes a bunch of noise. It forces a defensive rotation. Not even rotation. It forces defensive cooldowns in the form of bubble and Zest to back up. And then we got nothing from that. CSGO analogy. Maybe I need a better analogy. But yeah, like this isn't the winning play, right? This is the opener. After the opener, you kick the door open. You gotta rush through. Otherwise, they're gonna react to you kicking the door open. And now MN3's attention is free. Now AimGod could even look for a counter-aggressive nade. Now their defensive positioning is easy to react to. I actually don't see where Void is right now. Void? Okay, there he is, sorry. Void's inside the building. So this positioning is absolutely fine from Fusion. And I think it's a good reaction because maybe they're afraid of the nade. But we're not even, like, trying. Lip's on the safest angle he could possibly be getting. Echo's forced to back out now. They played their hand. Now that we're back into neutral. And we're walking into Widow sightlines. Lee Jingong's got a shield to block this Widow sightline, I guess, for Lip a little bit. And for his Ana. But they're not able to capitalize anything aggressively. Like, a nade onto any of these members. Like, maybe you can't get a nade into here, sure. But, like, you know where the Widow is. You have to. She just shot at Fleta. Throw a nade here, splash him in the back, and then run at him as Void. At the very least, then, you again force more defensive pressure. You force an aggressive reaction that hopefully these people can react to. But get something done. You're trading resources back and forth. You're playing Overwatch 1. You've gotten through the first set of resources. Zest gave up space. I don't even know if he got bubbled. Maybe because he didn't get bubbled, they opt to just wait for the next set of bubbles on themselves. But if Zest isn't getting bubbled there, and like Lip's not body shotting him to get the kill, or the nade isn't landing where Zest is falling back to secure more aggression for Fleta after like a second bubble comes up for him, like what's the plan here, Shanghai? You're just like waiting for someone to make a play or find a kill, and instead, if it doesn't happen, we reset to 5 people on payload. We're not developing space. This isn't double bubble. This is... I don't even know what to compare it to, honestly.
Stay safe, can't get those shots.
And then yeah, MN3's free.
Actually follow up as soon as we snap off his...
And look what happens after MN3 finds a pick.
Trying to stay safe, can't get those shots.
Fury walks up with Fixa. They try to keep Void out of position. Obviously, they're reacting with really defensive pressure, so Fury's not going to round this too aggressively. And then MN3 instantly looks for the follow-up angle. If I was Ana and I was with this group, I'd be rounding this corner looking for a nade as well if I'm Philly, probably.
Actually follow up as soon as we snap off his cam.
That forces another bubble here. Maybe there's another aggressive opportunity now. Now with bubble off the table, Zest can't really... Or sorry, not Zest. Fleta can't really contest this angle. There's no Widow to worry about. So MN3's going to stay a little bit longer, take another shot or two.
Good kill found.
Now, and then like the Echo and Zarya right there. Again, they're trying to snowball off this space because they got value. Obviously, more explosive value than just a defensive resource like a bubble. They got a kill. So it's more obvious to go aggressive in this situation. But this is the type of reaction I want to see from Shanghai. Maybe not this aggressive again, like I said, but this is the type of follow-up we need to see from Ana's, from Zarya's.
Finally feel the confidence to walk on up. They want to try and push a Void out. If one of the Zaryas dies, it's a huge difference maker.
Now they're resetting. Oh my god, Zest almost 8 lead.
Energy, and one of them goes down, and that is going to be a pretty huge reset.
Again, to be as unbiased as possible,
are going to have high energy, and one of them goes
what
down,
the fuck is this bubble exchange? What the fuck is Void doing walking up with a bubble? What the fuck is Fury doing responding with his own bubble? Have you guys seen how fast Zarya charge ticks down in Overwatch 2? It's crazy. Not only that, but like the odds of getting value from this bubble, like even charge in terms of meaningful charge, when these are the DPS in the game, these are like some of the tightest burst window DPS in the game. And, like, there's no reason for them to shoot you when you put your bubble up when you do it like this. On both sides. I don't understand this exchange. Like, not even, like, a little bit. What I would love to see is if Void does this, Zest and MN3 are ready to just, like, fucking all in. AimGod's rounding the corner with a nade. Obviously, that's a bit of an overcommitment, and we're not likely to see that. But, like, what is the purpose of this? I would love to see what both Zarya's energies are right now, because I bet they're both under 20%. I don't understand. It does nothing. And then it's like, it's just half of your kit gone. It's weird watching Shanghai play a comp less efficiently than a couple other teams, i.e. Zarya from Dallas, after a year where Shanghai played a comp that no one can even compare to last year. That's definitely because this comp's a lot more strict on its timings, and I think Shanghai's players are individual monsters, but maybe don't have the same level of patience as a team like Dallas. Hey, what's up, Kobe? This has been a disappointing game to watch so far, but welcome to the stream. Hopefully we'll see some more clean play from Philly. Maybe we'll see some more Widow headshots and we can get excited again.
Reset. Speaking of resets, they're back into action now. Looking for
Shanghai's doing nothing to create space right now. Okay, now Fled is looking aggressive. Goes down to half, backs up, and now we wait for bubbles again. Maybe we wouldn't have to wait for bubbles if we stopped self-bubbling for charge, Void. Maybe we stop doing this, Void, and maybe we can actually play the game.
Information.
And then Fury responds. There's no one pressuring you. No one's doing anything right now. Stop it. Stop this. What's up, Marshmallow? We're yelling at clouds again today.
Looking for the connection. Can't quite find
This is like the one situation where Brig finds value, by the way, in this comp. And I think it makes more sense on defense. I think Lijiagon literally just doesn't do anything. He's 47% to rally, and we're 2 minutes into the into the attack. Why do you play Brig? But like this sightline in particular, like you saw this shield, this is like the one thing I think that Brig does in this fight.
Gliding past Lip is looking for the connection.
That's the one thing Brig does. Deny this headshot onto Aim God. A round of applause. But like realistically, obviously Brig has a lot of potential in the mid fight. Rally's still a really good ultimate, especially on defense. It's basically a slow sound barrier, and if you can get it off at the right timing, it does counter a lot of aggression. But my goodness. Because now, again, another bubble. This is like the safest bubble. Okay, Nano and bubble onto Fleta. There should be a defensive bubble here onto MN3. He doesn't even need bubble. That's how telegraphed this attack was. He got bubbled right here. He shifted. He got nanoed right here. And then MN3 ADs a little bit and gets hit by an Ononade. Guess who's coming ahead in that trade? Actually, maybe not Fury. This aggression onto Fury makes a lot of sense. This is also where Fixa can find some value by trying to keep Fury alive. I'm guessing the Nano's about to hit Fury, though, and then Fusion just win this fight for free.
Goes out onto him.
Yeah, there it goes. And the grab.
Like
Lijiagon's got nowhere to be. The counter grab comes through, but yeah, a little bit too late. The initial burst from the Echo was so optimistic from Shanghai there. That play makes sense if Fleta has his ultimate, maybe. If, like, again, this is the opener. The opener is not expected to find a kill, but it does force defensive positioning. It forces a defensive nade and nano. It forces like they're backed up around the corner. This is opening up a lot of space for Lip to work in the mid fight, for even Lijiagon to catch up in the mid fight, for Ana to find an anti-nade potential right now because bubbles are expended. But the follow-up's too slow. We're waiting for Fleta to kill everyone. Ana took like the safest route possible there when like the apocalypse was happening for Philly. And again, like Izayaki could have been swinging the moment Fleta went aggressive, but now he's getting in a nade opportunity as Fleta's about to die and backing out. This is the missed timing I'm talking about with Shanghai. Like they're too lenient with their opportunity windows, and then little things like this nano hitting Fury, like the nade hitting MN3, are more than enough to carry Fusion through this point. And then obviously the grab just seals them into the coffin. The counter grab kills Fixa, obviously, but like there's no one there anymore.
Will actually stay alive.
And now you got no ultimate, Shanghai. What are you gonna do now? I guess you've got copy, but that's not the most ideal ultimate to start a fight with anymore.
Good defense by Fusion. They receive the pressure from Fleta. They absorb.
Not sure how much I like them cutting back around that corner. Yeah, again, like cutting around that corner for Philly is like a really weak position. Except Shanghai didn't follow through with anyone besides Fleta fast enough. That's the thing.
Trays come on through, both Azarias dropping
grabs.
Yeah,
we're baiting the grab, but seems telegraphed and objective route. We're saying the same things in reverse as usual.
The
coach dilemma, Kobe. We're in the same boat.
Definitely, I think, outpacing Fled for the most part, but a lot of that was due to the fact that he was being pocketed by Fixa on the attack with the Mercy.
I really don't think
both the Echoes
Shanghai's doing this on purpose, by the way.
Duplicates are coming
I do want to give them the benefit of the doubt. I think they're just getting used to the pace of Overwatch 2. Like it's too fast to rely on like these longer mid fights and multiple opportunities for value from your DPS. You've got one, and then you gotta hope the enemy team doesn't have an Uno reverse card by the time you're going in with your one. What are these balls? What are you doing, Void? Why? You have Widows going aggressive during this time, and you're gonna walk up self bubble and walk away. This is not the best use of anything that your character does. This is not the best use of your positioning, your timing, or your bubble usage. What you should be doing right now is bubbling yourself in so that Ana can swing, or that so Fleta can maybe wrap around on the ground, or you bubble Fleta to go aggressive and find a reaction from the enemy Widow while Lip wraps and tries to find a headshot. This is not how you set up your team for success. You are the only tank in the game. You have to do more. You have to do more than this. Even though Fury's doing the exact same thing, it matters way less for him because he's on defense. Not only is he more likely to get charged from this situation, because if he, well, this should be an aggressive opportunity from Dragons, but it's not anyway, so it doesn't actually matter. So maybe he's not likely to get more charge, but they lose less because they still have this positioning. Nothing's forcing Philly out of this position because we're using bubbles to peek around a corner. I'm tilted, boys. I'm a little bit tilted. Fleta, one of the best playmakers in the game. One would think you'd want to give him every opportunity to make one by aggressively space taking. Almost seems coached how passive they are, which is somehow worse. Yeah. I don't get it. We're hydrating though. Thank you guys. Do you guys see what I mean though? Like, do you see how slow these Zaryas have to play because they keep pressing shift for no reason? And again, like, it looks to me like Fury's garnering more charge here, but like you can't just use bubble for charge when you're trying to swing with your Widow. Like, why not give Widow everything in the like even just like bubble your Widow right now and let her go for a grapple. That would be doing more. And you'd probably get more charge from it too. But good God.
I mean,
Shanghai's doing nothing to create space here. It's just like, okay, Lip, get a headshot, or okay, Fleta get a one-shot, and then we can play the game. We do exactly that. Fleta goes in, he goes to try and carry the game, he copies Zarya. Double Zarya, by the way, I think is pretty bonkers. I think it's actually insane for having 4 bubbles on anyone you want. I think it would be better if you had like a Reaper in your core, or someone more aggressive than a Widow, because you don't want to just ping-pong bubbles between both Zaryas. Maybe you could put like just 4 bubbles on a Brig, that would be cool. But it seems awkward. Actually, you know what? Something I don't know how this interaction works. So when you're playing Zarya and you ally bubble, let's not use Fleta because he's also Zarya right now. You ally bubble someone like a Brig, there's a cooldown before you can put your second ally bubble on them. Does that cooldown apply to an Echo copy? Or can you just like bubble, instantly bubble, and then since this is not your bubble anymore, Void can instantly bubble, and then since that's not your bubble anymore, Fleta can instantly bubble? Can you just go boom, 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 boom with your 4 bubbles? Or is it a shared cooldown between any Zarya bubble being applied to one target? It's like we're waiting for Fleta to make space instead of making space for Fleta. Plat strats. I do think there's a lot of merit to DPS needing to make space for tanks. But Zarya's not the tank you make space for. Winston and Doom are the tanks you make space for because they can catch up to a fight and they can do a lot in the mid-fight that's almost guaranteed pressure in the form of either Doom disruption and one-shot potential, or Bubble being the best off-tank in the game right now. But yeah. But yeah, that would be cool, and that would be a really interesting interaction to play for specifically when you have Echo Zarya, actually. Because I think you could get away with like Echo Reaper, and you just go absolutely bonkers with a Reaper with 4 bubbles. Like, you do Echo plays like this, not so the Echo can pop off like you do in Overwatch 1, but so that you get the added utility of having 2 Zaryas, which, if you've ever played Mystery Heroes, is absolutely insane. I don't know how that interaction works now. It's a shame we can't actually play the game to test it out. What a shame. I didn't even think about that interaction. But yeah, now look at the position Shanghai has. They're not pressuring arguably the most important member right now. They don't have an aggressive member to push into space anymore. As long as like Philly hold this space, which they've got a pretty good ultimate to hold this space in, they can just wait out this opportunity. They can maybe even find a kill if Fury's high charge enough, or Zest finds his own copy opportunity. What I'm guessing is going to happen is Zest is actually going to copy Brig here, and he's going to brawl into Fleta. Even if Fleta grabs right now, I think fixes rally, and then maybe comboed with if Zest builds a rally. I would like that more than if Zest turns into Zarya and tries to burn down a target who has 4 bubbles anyway. I think you want to brawl for as long as possible right now. The other opportunity would be to like pick Ana and then go for like an aggressive anti-nade, but with 4 bubbles on the table, that's hard as well. Let's see what happens.
These teams really gotta be too much.
Okay, no, he just copies Zarya. Zarya too good.
Double Zarya's online for both sides.
I mean, obviously bubbles also help. I was more worried about Fleta building grab, but obviously
Both sides are
with
rallies
bubbles
rolling
on
down
both sides, that
as
doesn't
well,
happen
helping
either.
everybody alive. There's a nice
It's just
double
about
hands
stalling
connected
for
from
time
Mizuyaki,
here.
but
If you're
he can't
Fusion,
finish
you have all the
kills
defensive
because
pressure you
of that armor
need.
coming in from the rally.
There's the copy over.
Really gonna be
MM3
down,
finds
just let him lose
Fleta.
out on the
Fury
duplicate,
finds
but as I said,
Mizuyaki.
Mizuyaki
Zest
will
kills
be felled.
everyone,
Zest follows up
but
the sticky bomb,
dies.
takes out
It's
Boy,
not going to
KJ
matter
Pop
though.
will
20
time
seconds on the
kill,
clock.
but it's too
Shanghai's
little
not even
too
going to have
late.
another fight.
Time is dwindling. They
This,
need to
again,
get
like I said, Brig in this mid-fight does actually do a decent amount. Helps that she also had
at this
Rally during
point,
that fight
otherwise
to
it's
start
just
it.
gonna be a full hole coming
But
through
yeah,
from
like
Sudden
Brig becomes
Fusion.
really annoying
Gets
when you
picked
have
off
to
here on
deal
the
with her,
back
either
end,
because
and
of
they are
ejector
running out of
pressure
time.
or
People
because
are now
you spent
swapping over
everything on
desperate
everyone
picks
else.
like the Doomfist here just to be able to touch the
Zest
card.
coming back on the Tracer just to be back fast, but it doesn't even matter.
Compositions, Lip
Void's
picks
in
up
on
the stock
Doom
here
and
as well,
gets
getting slipped,
annihilated.
pushed
Okay.
away, Void.
What are the problems for Shanghai right now? They're not doing anything proactive with Zarya bubbles. Like, when they are doing it, it's the most telegraphed shit I've ever seen. This Fleta engage here, not only was it super obvious and covering a long distance and not a guaranteed play because they still had a defensive nano and nade available and a defensive bubble for the Zarya, but no one followed. No one tried to get as aggressive as Fleta was getting, so when Fleta doesn't find huge explosive value, and this was the same I think we were seeing from the Reaper, like unless Reaper absolutely dominates early, everyone else isn't ready to follow up. Or when Lip tried to go for that tack visor, if Lip doesn't kill 3 people in that exact moment, no one's ready to do anything else. But yeah. It's also just net HP pool plus rally. Yeah, that's not bad too. What's better than 4 bubbles? 8 bubbles. 16 bubbles. Trigrams. You're right, Kobe. I don't get that joke. Oh, it's Naruto. It sounded like something from Destiny, but those are called engrams, right? Neither team got to first point. Is this common on this map? So, Philly did break first point. They capped like all the way up to here. They didn't get to second point. This is what I expected to be common on this map. Not for these reasons, but just because this high ground is incredibly oppressive. Philly just flubbed too many attacks here. Again, Philly, in the same vein, I think overcommitted with their Echo and didn't find instant value, and so had trouble breaking this corner. But this was even like more outrageous from Shanghai not being able to break this corner, just not lining up timings at all. It's Leon Master. Thank you for the follow. Welcome to the stream. Because this map is a tragedy. I think there's a lot better ways to play this map, but obviously that any map without options, so any single lane map like this, like you could argue that these are flank routes, but are they really? Like you can, if you can sit in one location and see every available offensive option from the enemy team, that seems like bad map design to me. Not necessarily bad, but like weak. And it's like this isn't as interesting as a map as even like King's Row. So compare this to King's Row Second, where again, King's Row Second, very linear. There's a very straight path forward. But the high grounds are disconnected enough that you can't just sit in main. You can't sit where the payload is pushing and then also see everyone on the enemy team no matter where they go. You can't do that in King's Row. You can flank around on the high grounds. You can flank around on the long alleys. You can get behind them and stuff like that. It's not easy, but it's hard. It's easier than this. Or sorry, it's more creative. There's more options than this. And I think everyone realized this as soon as they saw this second point on this map. Even this first point on this map, honestly. But first point has some options, at least. Like, there's this short flank here. There's this angle over here. There's this space development over here. Like, they don't even have that on second point. Because it all just leads... All roads... All drains lead to the ocean? Finding Nemo? I don't know. But yeah, I'm surprised we didn't see Sig here. I think Sig's actually a really good matchup into Zarya as well. Because you can just react to a bubble timing by throwing up a shield. And it kind of just denies all that aggression, not only onto a single target, but onto any target they're trying to focus. But Zarya really good for creating aggressive opportunities, which maybe for a Fusion, even on defense, makes more sense. I think thinking about it more, Zarya makes a little bit more sense when you're enabling the Echo with a Mercy Pocket than I think Sigma does. But without that Mercy Pocket, I don't think I can justify the Brig pick or the Zarya pick on attack. But that's just me. Everything has been slow and tragic in Royale so far. Yeah, I don't, and the thing about it, like, again, the lack of options means like it doesn't seem like the map has much depth, so it doesn't feel like we're going to see much development on a map like that.
They stopped and the picks come in.
I wish there were. I wish it was more interesting. So again, like, look at King's Row. Speak of the devil, on a map like this, so this is like the main route here. You can get an off angle on this route. You can get above this route. You can get all the way around here. You can go all the way around the high ground on the other side and get a wrap around here. These are options. This is what we call a multi-lane setup on a map. Most maps in Overwatch have 3 lanes. You've got the main lane, and you got 2 off lanes on either side. Sometimes the off lane looks like a high ground instead of a side lane, stuff like that. Almost every map in the game follows this kind of logic because Overwatch is a game where you can typically influence 2 areas of the map at the same time from any specific position. So if you have 5 people here, you can guarantee that you can fight here or fight here as a team. But then if the enemy team rotates this way, you're either going to be forced to give up space or split your stack from 5 people to give yourself less of a defensive advantage. This is why defensive holds on specific parts of maps make more sense, because it forces these lanes to converge in more ways that make it easier for defenders to react to. These lanes kind of converge around here because if you wrap around here, it's a longer split. If you wrap around here, it's a really long split, and the sight lines don't really benefit you at this corner, so that's why you see teams holding at a corner like this. It's where the lanes converge and have less influence for the attackers compared to the defender setup. But Circuit Royale has a straight line, and I guess technically it's not a straight line, it's a squiggly line, but it's still just one line, you know? And you can either always look down it, or you can just wait for the enemy team to push until they're around a corner, around these squiggles, and then you get shit on.
Gonna make it through, or is this gonna get swapped?
Don't forget the mountain to climb.
Well,
yeah,
it's
the high
possible
ground
that Void is a
advantage.
good
I mean,
player
high
and
ground's
pull that
an
out
obvious
completely. I
advantage
actually
in
don't
any
know who the
FPS
good
game.
player on this team
Just
is.
it's natural cover that doesn't depend
gonna
on
be
natural
Trojan.
cover.
I would think it's
And again, it
probably
gives you
not,
options to
because
develop
both
from.
Widowmaker
And
Soldier
that's
are much better
probably
on the
one of the
specific
most
patches
oppressive
that
high
they are
grounds to
playing
deal
on.
with.
The only
the
issue
entire
here
game.
is that, yes, we do expect it to be Genji. However,
Other ones
Genji
like,
doesn't
say,
have a great
Watchpoint
matchup
Gibraltar
into
first
the-
and second.
into the Echo, and Zest has been pounding on the Echo, so I don't know if the Genji is going to be
Who Are You
enough.
is in. Okay. I was wondering if we'd see Who Are You this weekend. Obviously, incredible Genji player. Arguable contender for best Genji in the world. Genji becoming very meta in the West. But with the level of aggression we're seeing from Shanghai's, or sorry, lack of coordinated aggression we're seeing from Shanghai's attacks, I'm not sure Who Are You will have the playmaking potential he needs because there'll be too much pressure on him specifically. I think heroes like Echo do an excellent job of pressuring a Genji out of space that he doesn't want to have to deal with. I think heroes like Zarya do an excellent job of responding to Genji's pressure. The problem that Shanghai needs to address is what do they do after they respond to Genji's pressure? Like, what does Shanghai do after Who Are You forces a bubble out of Fury? What comes next? We're seeing MN3 on the Ashe here. I think this is being played basically as like a budget Widow. I don't know why they wouldn't play Soldier. Maybe because they like the independence of Ashe being able to manipulate high grounds more than Soldier on King's Row first here. Maybe they like Dynamites? I don't know. Against Zarya, I think I would prefer Soldier even more. Maybe they're expecting an Echo. But, I mean, with Who Are You coming in, I feel like you expect this. I don't know. I think Ashe suffers more than Soldier. Or I guess I should say Ashe doesn't win as much as Soldier in Overwatch 2 from having one less tank in the game because of the consistent nature of Soldier's damage and the lack of AoE pressure from Dynamite hitting multiple tanks now. Yes, Dynamite gets through more because there's less divas to deal with, for example, but you're not hitting as many targets consistently, I would say. And against someone like a Zarya, again, like, you're ready for that burst potential as Zarya. So let's see what MN3 does here on the Ashe. Maybe he's just an absolute nut on the character.
Yeah, it might have been better to put
With
Fleta
where
still in the
MN3
roster,
plays
not
from here,
sub
it's
him
almost
out.
like they
At this
try to
point,
use Dynamite to make
Shanghai
bubbles. That would
need
make
options,
sense,
they need
but
an answer, they
also,
need
like,
something to work
shouldn't
through,
be a
and
thing.
they believe Who Are You is that key to victory.
Yeah, I would
Well,
assume with MN3 in, and we do see Lip on the Soldier now, so he can play high grounds pretty sufficiently. As long as Lijiagong or Izayaki are ready to respond. Sorry, I'm always looking at the wrong team. I don't know why. As long as Fixa or Aim God are ready to respond to Who Are You's pressure, MN3 is invincible if he plays well.
Lip not going to be matching the Ashe.
Even if Who Are You gets bubbled.
Pop shot at the beginning with the Widowmaker swaps
Ooh,
back up with Soldier
going for the
76,
quick
just
fire.
looking to be able to run down on the ground here alongside Void.
There is the two-tap potential.
Speed, and he's already going to find a nice little kill.
That's pretty consistent.
Zest
Zest
down,
goes down there, but Who Are You
Also
traded
get
out.
picked. Low HP. Two members on the side of Fusion.
Really
though.
defensive play from
Out.
Philly here, trying to bait them forward, I think,
A little bit
into
longer, but as I
MN3
make the call,
sightlines.
Void
Fixa, why were we committing so
But
hard
who
up in
are
this
you?
corner?
DJ
So
gone.
I understand Zest committing here with
76,
Fury.
just looking
Why
to
is Brig up here?
Run down on the ground here
Brig,
alongside-
again, like, kind of feels like they're just trying to be relevant. I literally think, like, Lucio would be doing a lot more Like, Lucio would be able to be here, influence this fight, disrupt during this fight, maybe not do as much damage or as much healing as Brig, but also with much less risk, and to not only this character themselves, but to characters like this and this with speed boost. Or you play a more all-in pocketed support like a Mercy, like we saw on Circuit Royale. Or, if you want to be crazy, you play a Zen, and you have less defensive pressure, but way more offensive pressure, because a Dynamite with a Discord Orb is way more pressure and should force bubbles way more often than just Dynamite alone. But then obviously you're limited by sightlines, and King's Row is not a hard map to navigate. This commitment is real. I think what they're doing here is they're using bubbles on Brig to try and absolutely control the space. But then with Zest going down, they've got no kill pressure, so they just outlast the bubbles, and then Brig has no movement ability to actually survive.
Zest goes down, but who are you? Will also get picked.
Good aggression from Lip to try and equalize here, but obviously a very cursed situation for Brig and Zarya over there.
At least for a little bit longer, but as I make the call, Void will finish him off. Amount of space
that'll do it.
Up here to get in on top of the Ash as well.
Okay, Lip just
basically point A, or at least
jumped over that sleep dart, I guess. It went between his legs. I don't know.
Very much not
looked like it went right through him.
Ash also requires a lot
Forcing
of
Brig, why though? So, Brig's really good for the mid fight, but doesn't really do anything proactively, obviously. Like, we see Brig trying to be proactive here, and they just, like, they live instead. And without, like, a nade or, like, just staying alive long enough to get a second round of stickies, or MN3 coming online from an off angle with Dynamite, it seems like Brig's on a very short timer, right? Whereas Lucio can get out if he wants to. MN3 now swapping onto the Soldier. Again, like, I think Ash is very dependent on being able to manipulate those high grounds for mix-up potential, but now Soldier is just, like, the better option, I think, on paper. Maybe also they were more worried about Widow.
Very close fight to begin with, but at the end of the day, Lip has
trying to think
hero,
why Ash would be better against a Widow.
Way ahead in Vice now,
I don't know.
Doesn't really have much charge to work through on his own ultimate towards the blade.
So Shanghai looking good there, but more on Philly for overextending with their Brig, I would say. And Zest going down early is not what you want to see when he's your only damage dealer having influence over there. I'm guessing what MN3 was trying to do was like a planned collapse around those stairs where he hits from statue and hits a Dynamite behind them, and that gives Fury and Fixer a reason to push down those stairs behind them. But obviously, Lip is their controlling space, and that's a very optimistic play to try and make. Oh, goodbye, Zest. Oh no, we missed the dash! I guess a bubble would have been there either way, but still, that was almost a sick play. He's just swimming through the enemy team right now.
Just keep pumping heals into me, everything will be fine. That's going to be the nano out though onto MN3.
Void goes aggressive in response to this. Did Void have no bubbles? So this was a really good play. Again, who are you getting hyper aggressive to try and create space or find a damage opportunity alongside Void's bubble to enable that opportunity? This gets answered back by healing and a counter nano onto MN3, who doesn't have Tac Visor, but it's a lot of damage you're not worried about. Because Dragons didn't get enough pressure from Who Are You, and it looks like they were anticipating being able to follow up very linearly. Again, like, this seems too slow. If we're following up Who Are You, maybe we were like waiting on Nano and Nano was going to be the follow-up. But if that's the play, like, why are we all on cart? This looks to me like we're just expecting to win and we're going to walk through the fight. When we're not setting ourselves up, we being Shanghai, by the way, we're not setting ourselves up to guarantee that value from Who Are You. And again, like, Aim God's pretty good at this hero. Brig exists, Bubble exists. There's a lot of defensive pressure here that denies value from Who Are You. He almost absolutely popped off. Almost twice. But that's not guaranteed, and you can't act like that's guaranteed until you see it in the kill feed. So what I'd rather see in a situation like this is, one, like, just get off the payload. Have Void swinging wide, getting right-click pressure and follow-up damage for Who Are You. Have Izayaki playing far. Maybe you have Lee Jae-gon on the wall over here looking to disrupt any counter pressure that goes onto Who Are You after he's found his damage opportunity. And then you again play for a nano on Void rather than Who Are You or Lip. Lip could either be like on this off angle over here, maybe even like a really passive angle back here or back here if he needs to be. Again, if you're not going in and winning instantly, you need to be ready to develop the fight. And again, this first trade, should I make a badminton reference again? Badminton analogy. So this first trade of this exchange of resources is the most important part of every single team fight. This is where every single, almost, like, I'll say like literally like 90% of team fights are dependent on this initial exchange of resources. Who Are You when aggressive got bubbled. In response, he got their team got healed, and now they're going aggressive with Nano. If this Nano finds value, the fight's over. Very rarely do fights last long enough in Overwatch 2 for a second play. So, okay, let's get into the badminton analogy. Because I know you guys love this. Everyone loves badminton as much as me, right? We're drawing the whole court. This is the net. Technically, there's a service line, but we can ignore that. So, there's also a mid line. So, badminton. Here's badminton, right? Oh, wait, we've got to draw the rackets. He's left-handed, I guess. 90% of rallies in badminton, maybe not as high as 90%. A lot of the rallies in badminton are decided by the serve and return of serve. It's widely considered to be the most important part of play, and people will spend thousands of hours mastering their serve and return of serve. So what is the serve and return of serve? So in singles, when you're first learning the game, what you do is you have the little bird in your hand. I need a thinner pen. You have the little bird in your hand. You toss it up in the air. You hit it. You smack it as deep as you can and try to force the person out of position and force them into a defensive hit. When people are good at the game, if you do this, they will smash it into your face and you will bleed from the eyeball because you fed them the easiest shot in the world to hit back. So instead, what you'll do is you'll make a very defensive play to try and bait the enemy into doing exactly what you're trying to avoid hitting the bird up. Because whoever hits the bird up is giving up offensive opportunity. When the bird is up, it can be hit smack down against you. So what you do, typically, you'll hit a short serve. Sometimes you'll mix them up and you'll like act like you're going for a short serve and then like push it deep. But for the most part, you'll hit a short serve, forcing the enemy to hit an underhanded shot, which when you're hitting underhand, you have the option of either pushing it forward if you're fast enough for it, or guess what? Underhand, you need to move your racket literally vertically and force the bird up into your court, and then you smash the bird into their eyeballs and force them to bleed out on the side of the court, and then you win the game. So, the serve, return of serve, literally, like, it's a lot of mind game, and it's a lot of technique of making sure that you don't put the bird more than, like, so here's the POV over here. How should I draw this? So here's the net. And then there's what we call the tape on the net, which is the very top of the net. When you're serving, here's the shuttle. Here's the racket. When you're serving, you want the bird to be like no more than an inch above the tape, because players who are fast enough will actually use anything more than like an inch here and jump on it and actually smack it down from this low of a margin. So you want it to just hug the tape. If you're lucky, the feathers on the bird will actually hit the tape and it'll mess up the trajectory of the bird, and you'll be able to play off that and make it harder for the enemy to react to it. But you want it to be as low as possible so the enemy has no choice but to pop it up in your favor, and again, you can smack it down at them. So when you're making this serve return of serve, hours and hours and hours of practice go into the technique of hitting the bird exactly where you want it to go. Sometimes you'll hit it to the T, is what we call it in the main here. Sometimes you'll hit it wide. Sometimes you'll push it deep as a mix-up and stuff like that. But you want the enemy to react defensively. So there comes the return of serve. What here is happening is Philly reacted defensively by stabilizing after Shanghai's serve of who are you going aggressive, but Shanghai served it too high. It was too high above the tape. So instead of having to overcommit defensively and pop it up, instead, Philly find an opportunity to go aggressive themselves. So what they do is they push the bird deep. They push the bird flat and down over the net here because you served it too high. And now they have the offensive pressure because Shanghai's in a position where they can't react defensively here. They're going to die to all this damage probably. They don't have the ultimate pressure to cover for this kind of mistake. And they didn't get enough value from their serve. Their serve was too weak, and they got capitalized from it. What are you doing, Kobe? All right. So there's my badminton reference. And again, like this first exchange of resources reminds me a lot of badminton because how fast it happens. It's literally 2 hits of the bird in badminton. Right now, it's 2 exchanges of resources. We all end on who are you? Who are you didn't land. Now we're getting smashed. Let's see how this fight actually plays out.
Just keep pumping heels into me.
Obviously, there's a lot more variables in a game like Overwatch here. Things could go back either way. There's ultimates in play. There's positioning to think about. There's hero kits and damage windows and stuff like that. But yeah, Shanghai didn't get the value they expect from their serve. Philly didn't have to
every single
react
time you
only
see these
defensively,
kind of Dragons
so they
come
found a
through,
reason to
soldiers
push
are
the
running
attack
to the
onto
front line,
Dragons.
they're running
Dragons
ahead
were
of the tank
posturing
even.
as if they
He's
had
trying to
advantage,
duel
and they got
who is
smashed.
he's trying to duel Void on the other end. Meanwhile, the rest of
Use the
Shanghai
shuttlecock
are
to smash,
aiming and looking
100%.
at it. He
Any
barely
opportunity,
survived.
you're
Now
always going
Fletcher
for the smash.
He's got the visor.
Now we see
He's
Philly
trying to
doing the
duel
exact same thing here.
Who is he's trying to duel Void on the other end. Meanwhile, the rest of Shanghai are
Actually, no, this is just Philly splitting position for some reason. They were not expecting Shanghai to come in this quick. This is, if we're going back to badminton, this is Philly not having proper footing when Shanghai's serving. They didn't have the position ready to respond to Shanghai's aggressive play first, so even though they managed to dive and save the bird from hitting the ground, they're in a really weak position to follow up with any aggressive play, so they're forced into a defensive play instead, which is this grab. They don't have the damage to follow up this aggressively, which is what we're seeing here. They're forcing to grab to try and stabilize off of this opportunity and maybe try and force an opportunity with this grab play. Maybe they can still be aggressive with it. It doesn't find the value they need.
He's got the visor out. He's got a double kill.
Oh my god, okay, maybe it does. Maybe MN3 is just insane at the game, and he's going to kill everybody in the lobby. Again, there's a lot more variables here than just hitting a shuttlecock back and forth. But it does remind me of the speed. Oh no, okay. Shanghai will win the set. Obviously with a spawn advantage here too. These trades are way better for Shanghai.
Followed up for a second kill. It does fall to Fury, but Fury falls
I'm
to
going to
Void
teach you
now.
guys competitive badminton over the course of the next year, don't worry.
Yeah, that's,
once a week, we'll have a
ill-advised
badminton
timing there. I
analogy.
could see the hero play kind of vision in his mind, like, oh, I could do this and just kind of win, but Easyaki shuts it down. No chance to stay alive there after you eat the ante. Second point cap. Not quite imminent just yet, but, I mean, we're looking towards grab, we're looking towards Dragonblade. This one should be in the books, even if
Badminton
Shanghai
stream
three
incoming.
ultimates for
If
it,
I
they
ever
should
have
be
the
in
equipment
air.
to do an IRL stream, you know what the sad part is, actually? I don't even think I could. But, there's not even, like, any badminton clubs around here. Badminton is not popular in Texas or in most of the states. Like, even when we lived in California, I, like, struggled to find a badminton club. It's unfortunate. There's tennis courts everywhere you look. There's a tennis court down the street from me, but there's no badminton clubs. Which is sad, because all you need is, like, a high school gym. Badminton not popular? Hey, badminton's the goated racket sport. You can't convince me otherwise.
Just be an El Clasico grab blade combination here.
We do have blade, we do have grab.
Here's who Zest is going to look for as well on the duplicate.
They're waiting for the reaction. Oh, okay, nice kill, but unfortunately it spends his dash, but they should absolutely cap here, even with the copy. There's a beat from Legion if they absolutely need to. Yeah, they're trying to save Blade here for Nano Blade to win out third point, I think. To the point where they're even willing to... Oh, why are you blading? Okay, no, it's because Lip went down. Lip is their stability. Lip is their ace in the hole there. In case the fight goes too long, as long as Lip's alive, they will win. Because they had the kill advantage first, but
I mean, respect the
when
Dragons
Lip goes down, they had to
for the
commit
timing.
the blade
They
there, I
could have
think.
just spent
That or they were
every
planning to
go,
commit the
but
blade
they
anyway,
wanted to wait
and
for
where you were just
Zest
waiting
to
for
run
that
out of
perfect opportunity, I'm not
duplicate
sure.
form. Don't have to deal with the second Zarya. Then
Gotta
they
head out,
pull
have a
blade
good
with
rest
the
of the stream.
sound there, they lose
Yeah,
the
of course,
play,
Shovel,
they have the
anytime.
option to swing on
And thank you
through.
for tuning in.
4 minutes still to
Have a
see.
good rest of
It's
your
a
night.
lot of time to work through. This should be a pretty tasty time bank if all things continue the way it has been. Nano Visor online now, and it will be online for both teams in just a short while.
Yeah. Three trying to get his, but it's going to be the Dragons who strike
Oh
first.
my god.
Zest down
Is he
underneath
just
the
dead
map.
though?
He's got nowhere to go. Looking for him. They're trying to see if he makes his way back out.
Oh, he came through
Does
hell.
actually manage to
No
survive.
shot. Zest is a maniac. That was sick.
Where to go?
Obviously, the bubble only blocks one bullet, but it's the one bullet it needed to block. So nice job from Fury. And then Zest is an absolute
Looking for him,
maniac
trying to
with
see if
this
he makes his way
with this
back
play.
out.
I don't know how. I guess they were expecting to come back
Down underneath
from
the map.
main, but this was like a
nowhere
really
to
smart
go.
maneuver from
And
Zest,
looking
and
for him,
he
trying to
loses
see
sight
if
of
he
him
makes
for
his way
just
back out.
long enough for Zest to
Does
get the
have a
mega.
chance to survive.
That is so
Wow,
sick.
Unbelievable. Does stay into the fight, but still has to try to reconnect.
And
with
now
rest
the
of
return
team.
of serve.
Three times gonna be bumping
MN3
his
going
visor.
aggressive.
Looking to find some kills.
And Shanghai's again
Before
caught
he
off their
ends.
footing. Shanghai is so ready to pounce on the aggressive plays that they go off balance trying to react to the defensive situations that they're forced into. And like when you're diving for every shot in badminton, we're back to badminton by the way. When you're diving for every shot, okay, we're drawing the cord again. I gotta use this. When you're diving for every shot, so you're here, you dive for a shot over here because the shuttlecock just got hit over here. You're diving for a shot. Sure, you can return it, but then you're not able to get back what we call it base. You're not able to get back to base soon enough. You're not able to reset your footing so that if the person here just shoots it over here, you're now running this much further over the court instead of this far. So instead of diving for these shots, for going so all in on hitting your shot that you put yourself out of position, this is why lunging and proper footwork are important, which, by the way, like, takes years of practice. I hated footwork drills so much. But you have footwork drills, so you can literally get to anywhere on the court in 3 steps or less, and you maximize the time you spend on the tips of your toes during those movements, so you're as fast as possible. You go for a deep lunge, you spring off the tension in your thighs, and then you get back to base before the shuttlecock. We're gonna get banned on Twitch, man. Before the shuttlecock even like gets hit by the opponent, and then you're jumping on the balls of your feet to get even faster to your next position, kind of thing. What Shanghai's doing is they're like, oh man, there's a bird right here. I'm gonna dive and land on the ground, maybe do a somersault like Nishinoya from Haikyuu, but I'm gonna hit the sickest shot. But then guess what? Philly returned the shot. It's not even like a crazy play that they're making. It's literally just attack visor. They return to the middle of the court, but Shanghai Dragons are over here lying on the ground because they just dove for this crazy shot that they thought they were going to hit, and then they can't stabilize. They can't even get the easy shot back. They can't stabilize defensively. They can't return the shot. They can't make their next aggressive play because they were too all in on this first play here. You're ruining my vocabulary, Kobe. I can't stop saying it now. I think it's a great analogy, though, personally. I hope it's making sense to you guys. I'm sure you guys are all well-versed in badminton, right? Everyone knows what I'm talking about.
I mean, great play.
We're gonna go analyze some pro badminton matches after this.
I believe what Zest did was he floated into the pit, but he didn't use his fly. Saved that to get out.
So that's how it's
Sharp with the resub.
Looking very Canada bud.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of. Can you guys read that? This was my jersey for when I played badminton for the Canadian. What was it? Was it Winter Games or was it a? I don't remember what tournament this one was for, but it was a national championship for badminton. This was my training jacket. My parents so it was my birthday the other week. My parents just mailed me this because I left it at their house, and now I've been wearing it. Gotta make a drinking game for how I'm messing badminton. Hey, fine by me. I totally forgot I was wearing this as I'm talking about all this. That's so funny. But yeah, this was my my Team Nunavut jersey.
Huge stuff there to make sure that basically
Hey San, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the stream. For the last 10 minutes. Don't worry, I'll find another excuse to bring it up again, I'm sure. The Widowmaker is an interesting pick here. I don't like it. I think you lose a lot of pressure on Void to force his bubbles. Trying to like get my brain back on track for I almost said badminton for Overwatch, by the way. And you're so much weaker to her use all in because not only obviously it'll force defensive play either from a bubble or a grapple away from MN3, and then it's so much harder for someone like Widow to be relevant in the mid fight unless they're like, again, Shanghai's kind of going all in, so maybe it's not gonna be that hard, but it feels like it'll be a lot harder to redevelop in the mid fight.
Cross. Push some significant damage through these HUDs. Who are you?
Okay, I mean, if you're MN3, maybe you just click heads and you just win.
A little bit low, but jumps away, keeps himself safe, and now Lip is completely pinned in the corner. MN3 will get.
What's that? Okay, I'm good. Thank you.
The kill at the end. Nice little swap from him. I mean, Carpe-esque. I think back to 2020. Carpe swapping over.
Is he gonna keep the Widow? He is gonna keep the Widow.
With the Widowmaker, it's coming up clutch.
He's feeling
in
confident.
many ways, I look at MN3 as like the young Carpe, right? He's the rookie Carpe, very similar hero pool. Good on
I wonder if the Widow's a pick to almost bait Who Are You? Because they do well whenever Who Are You goes in aggressively first, right?
Who Are You diving on in, SMGs them down.
Or, you know, when you just kill everyone.
He's finding for sure.
So top there's going to be the grab coming through. They lost
Who Are You's not there to deflect the grab, SMH.
Continues to look for a little bit more.
It's looking pretty sad for Dragons.
What? Drain down by half as
okay.
Is
maybe you just pick Widow whenever you're just this insane at the game.
Shanghai Dragons, they need to reset now. This is just time being wasted. Where are you going, my friend?
I will say too.
Jeez,
yeah, sheesh. We got one. MN3's an absolute maniac right now, obviously, but also Shanghai's not playing in a way that's adequately dealing with him. Like, Who Are You was there soloing him out without a bubble. Lee Jae Gon could be going aggressive at the same time as Who Are You. They could be anticipating the counter aggression from Fury and Zest as a reaction to Who Are You and using him more as a bait play when he goes in. So instead of like committing dash and reflect onto MN3, he just goes to posture aggressively to try. Like, maybe you'd still be forced to reflect. You posture aggressively to try and bait a reaction from these members, and then you like counter aggress into them, kind of thing. But Shanghai doesn't really play like that. Shanghai plays pretty aggressively and demanding value from their first engage.
That's just going to be even more time.
MN3 is just nuts, absolutely.
24 remaining. The Shanghai Dragons. It's now very much in question.
Just like in Babbitt.
They almost have 5 ults online.
So when you get headshots like that as MN3, that's what we call a service ace. That is just something that cannot be returned. Kind of like a pick like that. I wouldn't be surprised if they cap off that, honestly. MN3 should be coming back on Soldier. Maybe even like Bastion, honestly. Good denial on Zest. This is proper footing. This is, even though Shanghai got an advantage here, they're not going all in. They're not demanding more of Who Are You. They're not trying to force a Nano Blade right away. They are respecting Philly's ability to counter engage, which is exactly what Zest is trying to do here. And then guess what? Look at this defensive reaction. They scouted him out, which helps. And then Who Are You gets the early damage, which forces an early copy. And then obviously, who did he copy? I missed it. Did he copy Ana? Yeah, he copied Ana looking for an aggressive nade. Already kind of an optimistic copy, knowing Void has bubbles probably still, because that first kill came for free.
Nearly 5 ults now. But
yeah, good reaction from Shanghai. First time we've seen that clean of a reaction, but I think it's because Zest felt forced to make that play in the first place, and now the Nano Blade.
Yep, Nano Blade is out where he was looking for a target, but then just playing ring around
again, like, getting those bubbles. Oh, okay. They just win the map. Okay, also. I was gonna say, even just getting both those bubbles is kind of okay. Like, obviously, Nano Blade together, you want more than just slicing into bubbles, but it put them in such a defensive situation that Philly had no more resources to go aggressive with both their DPS dead, with Zarya with no bubbles. They would need something insane to come back from that situation, so good pressure from Shanghai. But if you're only winning fights that decisively when Who Are You gets an early kill for free, it's not looking good. MN3, absolute maniac on the Widow, though. That was a crazy performance. Genji, I think, still really good on defense here. I think, again, it's going to be really up to how much they can work with this. I don't understand the Brig pick. Is it to counter Who Are You? Is it to walk through space for Aim God? Like, I guess what you could do with Brig here is you could walk up to this high ground with Aim God and not have to worry about Widow sightlines as aggressively, and then Zest can go aggressive on the Widow once Aim God has an angle to hit a nade, and then whenever Fury reacts with bubbles, maybe the nade on Zarya forces more space. Sorry, nade on this Zarya. Seems really hard to develop for Brig here, and again, like, using Brig Shield to block Widow sightlines I don't think is a good use, but maybe because they're playing Genji as well, using as a counter aggressive tool, because like a 50 damage bash that goes through Reflect, right? It does damage through Reflect, I'm pretty sure, is not something you can just ignore. It doesn't stun, obviously, so it's not as valuable, I would say, but it's definitely still a deterrent. And again, it does kind of force Void's bubbles maybe more. It forces, like, Who Are You needs a bubble to get in with that damage potential, because if you just, like, bash nade the ground, then, like, a little bit of damage from, like, either your left clicks or Zarya's left clicks, I don't know. It seems limiting still.
Open up. Well, they've confirmed that he is
Hanzo.
Okay, it's not what I was anticipating at all. He's gonna go for Hanzo.
I don't know if
interesting.
I think this is gonna be a good matchup.
Misses the Sonic. Good start.
I think really.
Wait, hold on. Hanzo's portrait looks sick. I don't think I've seen it yet. In the league, at least. That looks like such a sick portrait.
Certainly isn't going to be pressuring Zest.
It surely has to be to escort Ingo to the high ground. Yeah, and that sets up really good nade angles. Like, we see it over here. And obviously, like, Genji can't do anything about this solo. Widow can't do anything about this solo. Even if, like, Izayaki hits a 3-man nade here, they just, like, wait around the corner. So, yeah, it's good. I'm surprised MN3 isn't going up here as well, to be honest, but they're trying to set up the crossfire. I would rather see MN3 go up here, Zarya crossover, and then MN3 like drop below here, or maybe rep statue then, because it feels a lot harder to develop in here, especially against a Genji. And if Zarya's trying to work aggressively in clock tower here, or even towards the point, you might not be able to get the bubble angles for MN3 here if Genji goes all in on him. Like, if Genji was all in on MN3 right now, who responds? I guess, I don't know where Echo... No, Echo's over here. I guess I don't know where Ana is. I don't know. Seems like this is a weak spot of this composition directly because MN3 is not playing with the core and because we're playing Brig in general instead of like a Lucio ready to go aggressive. Lucio would be a better escort pick because he could be more flexible. The thing that Lucio can't do is block Widow sightlines, which there's not even one. And Widow like can't do as much damage to an all-in Genji, but I almost would rather have the boop. I don't know. I agree Lucio would be a stronger pick, at least in my eyes. But Shanghai, or not Shanghai, Philly probably knows something I don't, of course. Brig is danger. How many times are we just going to sit in space that doesn't matter, use a bubble, and then get punished for it, Void? How many times are we going to do this?
If the Hanzo doesn't do it all.
Void playing forward, he's in danger here.
That was both bubbles used for no reason.
Here, the bubbles come out, uses both of them.
Now, guess what they can't do? Anything with Genji. Unless Genji finds a solo one-shot opportunity, which, good luck, what are they supposed to do? I'm guessing Fury at least has one bubble still. Now AimGod has like the freest nade in the world if he finds one right now because there's no bubbles to cleanse it or block it. They don't manage to find an aggressive opportunity. There should be one bubble back online now for Fury. I'm a little disappointed Philly didn't capitalize on that more, to be honest. What was their positioning like when those bubbles first came out? So this is where they're about to come out. I guess AimGod's position's a little weak. Ideally, if AimGod was like back here wrapping, like a nade lands right here on the Zarya after those bubbles, instantly dead. Zest on the Echo is up here, I'm guessing, ready to push Clock Tower, trying to develop this space. That's why they've got the Sonics up here to help them work. Yeah, there we go.
He's in danger here.
The other thing, by the way, that Brig does is pocket heal. Pocket healing and Echo with Brig. I totally forgot to mention this. It's definitely worth mentioning. The packs, since you have an Ana, since everyone else is relatively easy to heal, you can devote almost all of your packs. Maybe you save one for AimGod, but AimGod should be playing relatively safe unless who are you able to get on him, to just pocketing Zest. Almost akin to Mercy heals. Not quite as instant or as fast ticking, but still a very good tool for keeping Zest up in the air.
Here the bubbles
from
come
range.
Out, uses both of them. Does manage to stay alive as that anti comes out.
And that might be honestly reason enough to run the Brig for them.
To the hotel, MN3 just fishing for any kind of stray shot that he can get across. Finds a little bit of damage.
Don't think it's necessary still,
do make their way to the point. They start
but I can understand it.
Finds a little bit of damage.
He just got bubbled. Make it make sense.
As Fusion do make
He's just, there's no pressure on him. Echo went aggressive here to just, and Echo got bubbled because Echo walked into a sightline. Granted, it didn't get any charge because it just meant that Lip didn't shoot at him. But I know that Echo's finding more value right here and is more likely to absorb pressure than this soldier bubble was. I really don't think, hey, get out of there. I really don't think Shanghai know what they're doing with bubbles. They either 100% all in with them, or they're like way too cautious with their reactive ones defensively, especially the self bubbles on Void. And Void's a really good Zarya.
Occupy this spot though. No kills coming through yet.
I don't think he's a good enough solo tank Zarya.
Push the corner, and the timing is perfect. Catches two of the bio.
I'm struggling to understand this. He was trying to knock something off my shelf on the side of the screen here. Unfortunately, you guys can't see. So the self bubble here, fine. You ate a headshot. You were getting a little bit aggressive. Now you're getting forced out. You have to self bubble. You have to give up space. Okay. Now that you know you've self bubbled, you need to either answer this aggression with pressure outside of this area on the map. Maybe Who Are You goes this way. Maybe a Lip reps this way. That's not your play to make. You can enable that play with an ally bubble if you have it. It is not your job right now to walk back into this pressure. There's no one else coming online during this moment. Your Ana's not looking for a nade. Your soldier's not rapping. I don't know where Who Are You is. I doubt he's ready to go in right now. What is the purpose of peeking this angle? And presumably without another self bubble available. Like when you round that corner and you see like 3 members coming through that like choke, like you self bubble that, right? If you have it.
MN3 gets the headshot through. Will be traded back though.
Okay, who are you?
Of his
A madman.
massively, and who are you? Looks like he deflects the sticky
Good flank
bomb
from
back
Lip.
into
But again, like, that
MN3 and
timing
Agon.
from Void was so weird.
Massive. I mean, that's the kind of Genji.
He didn't need to die
That's
there.
kind of like high-tier Genji gameplay that Who Are You is known for.
But who are you?
Sort of full
Absolutely
display,
turning
good
up.
recovery by Shanghai Dragons
And
after
yeah,
losing
Shanghai Dragons
Void,
looking
sort of pushing
insane
what
when
they
their
can do with
DPS
the Han
absolutely
Zone. The
obliterate the
answer
enemy
is
team.
put
But
the
their macro
damage
play
onto
around Void's
Void,
bubbles
Fury can
specifically,
maybe get a better
I'm
match of
failing to
himself,
see the purpose in a lot of them.
and instantly Who Are You responds. So
Hanman's understanding of
brilliant
how to
stuff
bubble
there,
in this comp is
showing the
unmatched,
value of
maybe
the
with time
Genji.
and some VOD review. Void can
Nano's
catch up a
online
bit,
now
but
as
this
the
match
first
wasn't it.
ultimate of this half
Maybe.
for Izayaki. No
I think
ultimates.
the biggest thing about Hanbin's bubbles compared to Void's bubbles is Hanbin knows what his DPS are doing more often. Hanbin understands the timings better and understands the purpose of DPS aggression better. So there's a lot of variables with Zarya bubbles, right? There's a lot of reason to use them aggressively, defensively, whatever. And there's a lot of mix-up potential because while it is a linear thing, like it's a bubble's there and then it's not, like it's very obvious what the bubble does, how aggressive you get off the bubble is not chance, but it's human. It's a mix-up game. You can change what you do every time you bubble, even like something simple like a Reaper TP in. You can TP in aggressively and then get the bubble off and just walk at them. You can TP in and bubble to bait a cooldown and then the Zarya walks up aggressively. You can bubble in, or you can just Reaper TP in and not even bubble the Reaper and try and bait a reaction cooldown and save the bubble. You can bubble purely defensively after the Reaper goes in if Reaper's being in a situation where he's not vulnerable the moment he gets out of TP. And then, again, defensively, the same thing. You can Zarya bubble yourself. You can Zarya bubble someone who's getting dove. You can Zarya bubble someone and then yourself. You can Zarya bubble someone else knowing that you've got a nano ready to help you as Zarya to survive the fight. Like, there's so many different ways to play out bubbles, but it's not about the bubble itself. It's about what happens after the bubble 90% of the time. So the bubble itself's very good, and we're seeing, like, Shanghai, they're focusing a lot on the bubble itself, I think. Like, when they're going for their all-in aggression for Echoes or Genjis, that's for the bubble timing itself. And it's kind of just a gamble of, like, I shouldn't say a gamble. It's a dependency on finding value during that bubble window, but not enough forethought about what happens next or how you're going to change your play even with a similar-looking bubble. That's what Dallas Fuel does that Shanghai Dragons isn't doing. And I would say Fusion isn't doing it much themselves, but they're playing a cleaner game, and they're playing not to expose themselves to individual threats like Who Are You, and so Shanghai's running out of gas too quickly in these team fights before Fusion gives up an advantage. Not necessarily the case so far on this attack, but on every other map so far, they've looked like just a cleaner team.
Just yet for the Fusion, but
Shanghai
Fury
already
is
won't win the
far
league this year. Who Are You is a bench lord. Taking him off of it was a massive mistake. Unlucky.
Falling low, but doesn't matter. Stays alive and they get the DPS
Yeah.
first and foremost.
Who Are You killing
The rest
everyone
of the
again?
cleanup
Yeah,
is
they used their
relatively easy
one
here for the
Dragon
Shanghai
Wish.
Dragons, and
They've collected all the
Fusion
Dragon
don't
Balls to
even
summon
get
Who
that
Are You
first
for this
tick.
one map.
So close to it. Haven't managed to lock it
And
in.
now they can't use
It's
them for the
less
rest of the
than 2 minutes
season.
remaining for
Unlucky.
this first point attack.
Yep.
Ults are still a little ways away. They will not have that grab drop dragon combo up for a little bit longer unless MN3 can get some shots through.
I don't even think you're going to catch a lot of the Grab Dragon either. Again, you know, in these type of compositions, Void shouldn't be stacking too hard with anybody else on his team. So likely you're going to get a solo or double grab. At best, this is a potential kill. You
Nice
know,
aggression,
maybe no.
but countered by
Ryu goes
ultimates.
to the blade. They've got the attack visor out as
Nice
well.
kill.
Lip will claim 2. MN3, yeah,
Not
sure,
gonna
he
matter,
gets
though.
that kill. He ends up
Again, I
falling.
don't see what Briggs
It's
doing
just
here.
gonna be another team kill
Obviously,
coming
that was
through
2
the side of
DPS
Shanghai
ults thrown
Dragons.
at Philly.
20 seconds remaining as
No matter
Liz
how
is
safe you play
thinking
there,
about going on a little bit of a
unless you
flank
just don't
angle,
do
but
anything in that fight, you're
it's
not
like
going to
the
be ready to
I'll tell
respond
you
to that.
why,
So they
Briggs,
tried to get
enjoyed it.
aggressive with
That was
Zest,
actually, that was the first time
with
they
the
spent
bubble
two
on him and
ultimates
stuff
on a
like
fight
that,
when
and then Shanghai just goes all in
very,
with
very
DPS
frugal
ults.
with how they're playing their ultimate so far.
Good
Just
reaction
one
from
ult, one
Shanghai,
fight.
just knowing they have the
Previously,
resource
Izayaki
advantage there,
Nano
but
only
now
here
that they
to
don't have that
Nano play.
advantage,
That's
how are they
giving
going to
some
play to counter
opportunity
these
now for
ultimates,
Fusion to
specifically the
bank
Grab
up
and
their own
Dragon?
ultimate. So, if not
I don't think
now,
you need to
then
combo
it
Grab
won't be
Dragon here. I
happening
think
at all.
Grab
They
and just
just
follow
have
up damage from
enough
Echo
fighters
and
online.
Hanzo is more than
Leeching
enough,
doesn't quite have a sound
but
barrier, and now
they
is the
might,
time to strike Fusion.
just to rip through bubbles, you know?
Dink connects
Yeah,
it.
they are.
One to Void. There's the grab. There's the
Yeah.
dragon.
Void
and
dies,
on top of Void. He tries
obviously.
to cleanse it off with the
I think the correct response there as Void is to throw your grab and then bubble an ally. You know you're dead there. Self-bubbling there delays the inevitable. You're not going to do any damage from where you are. I think if they're trying to equalize this, maybe it's unclear whether or not they can. I think he counter grabs Fury if no one else, maybe Fury and Brig if he's lucky, and then you throw a bubble on Who Are You and hope for the best. From Void's perspective. Everyone else, the macro play needs to be to almost instantly react to Hanzo not being able to take shots during the Dragon pull, and then instantly capitalize on that situation. Like maybe you even grab MN3 in the back during that situation, and then Who Are You one-shots him, and you got a chance to equalize. Whew.
the bubble. Stays alive a little bit longer, but ends up falling all the same. Who are you? Will claim
Beat
one.
there to
Maxes
try and
out barrier
stabilize,
cup,
but
though.
Zarya not
Lovely
being
take
around
on.
is going to be a rough
Build
ask,
it up as they look for additional kills.
especially with the
has
rally
to be used
ticking
by
and
Victor.
Hanzo safely taking an
Fight.
angle. Nice
1.5
shot
ticks
onto
just about
Lip.
picked up as M3
Now
finds a
who are
nice
you?
kill. Lip is gonna be
Very
eliminated.
much.
Void
Oh my
gonna be on
goodness.
his way back, and he's gonna have
The
this
sniper.
Graviton Surge here pretty darn soon ready to roll. Let's see if he can even get into a position to use it.
Good of Philly to maintain the rest of their ultimates too. They had to commit rally there to stabilize from Luigi Go's beat for sure.
So, not done yet. 2 minutes and 45 seconds.
But honestly,
here
even
for
with
Fusion as they get the
even
cap
if
on
Void
A.
counter grabs there,
How far can they take this
with the amount of ultimates Fusion have, they probably still lose that. The question, I guess, is whether or not it's worth it to trade ult economy in that way, or if they want to save Void's grab for a counter snowball right now.
Then play the fight further. They target Void first. Like I said, Lee Jagon was slightly
Keep
off
your
the sound
players
barrier, so
moist.
the grab dragon
What are you
combo
guys
solo
talking
on the
about?
Void is the expected
I thought
kill
the
there, but,
badminton
you know,
chats were getting out of
6v6, I
hand.
think that probably wouldn't have been high value, but in 5v5, that's your only tank gone.
Cassidy
So
comes out for
pretty damn high
MM3.
value. Void can't use his grab.
They're
That's
really
easy
trying to
fight
shut Who
for
Are
him.
You down.
MM3
They know he's a
goes to
monster.
Cassidy now, which is a very interesting pick. We'll see how that one fares for him.
Good bubble,
Now
good counter aggression,
Bubbles
goodbye. Who are you?
With a nano, chunk
Just
low.
kidding? How does he live? How does this man
MM3
survive?
goes to Cassidy now, which is a very interesting pick. We'll see how that one fares for him.
So the Cassidy helps because he's got, well, an extra 25 HP, which is actually pretty nice. And he's got the sticky bomb, which is, if it doesn't get Zarya bubbled or reflected by Genji, somewhat guaranteed burst damage. Pair that with like a single shot from himself, pair that with Zest Beam and stuff like that, is you can beam someone down even when they're nanoed. But the fact that he survives here, the nano comes through to keep MN3 alive even after bubble. I think that's a fine commitment. He's 39 HP. He's 19 HP. I saw him drop down to 17 here. He must be getting darted and heal pocketed through this nano. And the anti-nade here from Izayagi. So this is kind of easy because both bubbles were forced and a defensive nano was forced from Philly. Like, there's no counter aggression going on. It's just reeling from Shanghai's aggression. It's somewhat easy for Izayaki to find this nade, but this nade has not been consistent throughout this series. It's almost as if like Izayaki was never in position to hit this nade during this very specific timing that Who Are You is affording them. If he doesn't hit this nade right now, they probably have the staying power to just kill Who Are You and then push back into them. But because we hit this nade, this is Who Are You being the opener, the nade being more of a closing resource to help them follow up into this fight. And even though Who Are You's about to die, they don't get that extra tick of damage in. The bubble just landed on him. Really nice timing from Void.
Even with a nano,
And then he finds the kill, gets reset, kills everyone else because he's Who Are You. That was actually insane. And I'm struggling to say that that was planned from Shanghai, but that was them being in a good position at least to more quickly follow up on that opportunity. And we haven't seen that type of setup in the same way, and it's definitely because they're playing defense King's Row, where it's almost impossible to be in the wrong position there, Arizona. There's basically one place you play, and he was ready for the aggressive play from Who Are You, and it was just a straight line to follow up with the nade. I need to see that level of follow-up from Shanghai when they're on attack and when they're on harder positions like they were on Circle Royale. If they can't find that same value in those situations, they're going to struggle a lot.
They could get held here. I mean, this is where Shanghai can really set up their element.
Another grab, ready for Void. He's just trying to force Who Are You out. But he kills, he's getting pressured by Brig and Cast Bomb and shots, and he forced Reflect early. How does he kill Fury here? Okay, Fury's a grab, that's how, never mind. Not that impressive. Zest copies Lucio, I think by accident. I imagine he'd be looking for Ana or maybe even Genji.
Zest finds nothing with the duplicate.
Just grab use there from Dragons. Philly should not be happy with that, especially after getting spawn camped.
They push him up into the air, and Izayaki from downtown with a Bionade will finish him off.
Who Are You?
Yeah,
What
you
a
can see
great
that right.
pursuit.
An absolute monster
You can
this
start to see
game.
that Fusion running out of ideas now. Zest is going towards the Genji as well. He's saying, okay,
Lanes
we're
in
not
my
gonna get into the
King's
bubbles.
Room?
We can do that on our team here as well. But you're looking at a situation where Fury should be okay. I don't think he's under too much pressure, just eats a lot of damage. Zest
Blade
using
could be
duplicate
massive here,
on
especially if they
Legion
have time to
against
build
Lucio.
nano on
Must have
Izayaki.
been a misclick. That looked like a misfire to me, because you're never really ever going to go for that.
Or, you know, just a dry blade, because who needs nano? Not Who Are You?
Everybody
Just kidding,
grouped
Who Are
up
You
for
needs
him.
nano.
Will manage to get some nice headshots to punish him, make sure that he
Oh
can't find anything
no,
else
okay,
off
they're
the
fine.
back of the blade.
I was gonna say, does
That's
Shanghai
about
overextend
it.
here and
Bard's
like actually
still held
die?
here in the same
But
position.
no, they don't. MN3's feeding though.
15 seconds remaining. They're looking for MN3.
I don't know
They
why.
will
Oh
find
my
him.
god, just kidding.
Oh,
Lijiang Gong's
on.
feeding.
Lijiang
What was
Gong's feeding
that?
on things. MN3
I thought that
gets
he was
some
for
nice
sure
hits.
dead.
It
And then
doesn't seem like
Izayaki dies, and then
Izayaki
Void
just
gets
wants to
slept?
This has just been a massive opening.
All right.
Shanghai Dragons flown too close to the sun.
Absolutely.
That was a little bit much. That was
such an unfortunate situation for Shanghai.
They
So
got
they're trying to
about it.
spawn camp here, because if
Still-
they kill MN3 and then get out alive, there's almost nothing Philly can do to create space here. They have grab, sure, but there's more than enough on Shanghai Dragon's side to deal with that, especially considering like half the team's not going to be there. Well, not half the team. MN3 at the very least isn't going to be there. So
Well,
they're
hell,
trying
the
to
same-
snowball this to just guarantee the team fight win, and then therefore guarantee the map.
Position. And it's 15
But
seconds
these
remaining.
kills
They're
are
looking for him.
absurd. The pocket healing, we saw like 2 brick packs fly into him in a dart. So nice angle to get that for Philly's supports. Really good self-sustain on MN3, but not finding that kill. And then Ana somehow dying. Ana getting 2
Gets some nice
tapped.
hits and he does manage.
Why was Ana pushing in the first place? Like that was a 2-man play from Soldier and Lucio. If anything, Ana's there to cover their escape through Hotel and like dissuade people from pushing here with maybe an aggressive nade or like a sleep dart. But without your Zarya here, like without your Zarya like up here, why would Ana be anywhere past this choke? Just getting a little bit over aggressive, I think.
He actually gets Izayaki, the
And then
support to
Void
guard.
gets slept. That's
has
just
been
so
a massive
unfortunate
opening.
for
Have Shanghai
Shanghai.
Dragons float
Oh
too
my
close to
god.
the sun.
Ana was trying to peel for Lucio.
That was a little bit
Not much you can do at
That
that point
was a
without feeding,
lead tad
unfortunately.
Controlling by Lijig on there, running at MN3 and dying. Izayaki trying to save his life, dies as well. And now Fusion
I'd be
get an
so
OT to
tilted if
play
I was
with.
Lijig on.
Shanghai, they've overstepped. Hang on, guys, you haven't won yet. Save the trolling for afterwards, you know. Just win the
Philly's
map
got
first,
ultimates
and we'll
now
talk
too.
Lip.
They could grab high noon.
Lip, he's here in the subway,
Why isn't he healing himself?
waiting to go on a flank.
Oh no.
The nano is available as well, but Zest
Why
is
didn't he
tough.
heal himself?
Down quickly. This is, I know exactly how you think. It's the massive punish. Nano now going to be used on the Who Are You, and he's still so far away from a blade.
Zest
He's trying to
with the
bomb
Genji
it up,
now.
But even with that reduced damage,
It's like, I got
ends up
highlights
getting
too, buddy.
jumped Out. Void
What is-
dead.
what
and
is this?
just like that, the Fusion have actually broken through. They're going to get this cap on.
I
B.
like that
They have a
play idea
second lease
from
on
Lip,
life, and the Shanghai
because they
Dragons
were
in
at a
all
resource
comes off the back of
disadvantage and they
that
were
pursuit,
forcing an
trying to
aggressive
kill
retake.
MN3.
So they needed something
I mean,
extra
you know,
to
further
push them
risks
over the
to be
edge to
taken
take
as
that
well. Lip wants to go
refight.
for a flank, spotted
And
up
that
by
would be
Zest.
Lip on the
They
flank.
have the ultimates to
But
play through.
unfortunately,
As well,
they
you
sniffed
receive
him
Nano.
out.
Lijig has sound there. If they played as 5, maybe
Coming up on
Lip just
Nano
kind of
Blade now for
either
Fusion.
doesn't get spotted
And they've almost
or
got all
comes
5
to receive
ultimates.
Sound there. I can see them playing that.
At the very least, they need to plan around Lee Jae-gong's sound barrier. But in addition to that, probably either a re-aggressive Void ultimate in the grab or Lip finding attack visor mid-fight, which they can play around by killing Lip first, even through bubbles with something like a Nano Blade. And they can potentially survive a grab with good bubble management or an aggressive grab play themselves that catches Void, or even with like a defensive high noon play that denies more follow-up. But when you're high nooning against Who Are You, you need to take the offensive there. You can't really depend on MN3 finding much value here. Otherwise, he puts himself on an island.
At least they burn a lot of ultimates.
Maybe they even
Should
like
get that
bait
cap. They
MN3 and they
spend
nano
anything.
him
They have 4 ultimates online.
during the
None
high
of them
noon.
spent to capping.
Let's see. Philly's scared to initiate here because they don't want to overcommit
Trying to
and get
play
caught
that
out by
front
Who
line.
Are You,
Here
I
he
think.
has his grab online. Fix is going to be taking a nap for
Let
now,
alone
but
Lip stack
no one
visor.
can get on top of
Hail
him.
Mary sleep dart.
Safe for now.
What are you tack visoring, Lip? What the fuck are you tack visoring?
Fix is going to be taking a nap for now, but no one can get on top of him.
Okay, so the grab is one thing that kills him, obviously, and there's a lot of damage. I think MN3 just hit a headshot on him. But like, so he has to be like in this little doorway here. What the fuck is he looking at? I'm sorry for swearing. I haven't marked my stream for mature audiences, so I probably shouldn't be cussing so much. But what in God's name is this supposed to do? My brother, what is this supposed to accomplish? At the absolute most, if you're like extremely lucky, this forces Fixa to rally. And that maybe sets you up for a grab down the line. But that is the most optimistic tack visor I've seen in the Overwatch League, I think, ever. And Soldier's been meta before, we've seen him. But like, what is this supposed to do? Even if Lip survives this, which, I mean, like, again, like I said, he's probably the main target that they're worried about for cleaning up the fight, not starting it. Even if they like committed beat to save him, which they wouldn't do because they know this tack visor's worthless, there's no one on his screen right now. Zarya can use the payload. He's a one roll away. There's bubbles still available, I'm sure. People in Horseshoe are just not seen right now. Ana's not seen right now. There's no one... Okay, there's someone contesting the payload, which I'm guessing is the Zarya. How does Zarya follow this up, even with Grav? If anything, the attack is just going to scare him off, use no ultimates. And then worst case scenario, Lip dies from overextending. Granted, the Grav probably forced him to be overextended. But I literally can't see a world where this attack visor does anything, even if Lip doesn't die. I'm struggling to come up with a reason. And this isn't like map 1 where Philly uses attack visor to bait out bubbles and then take an advantageous situation. Like there's no space for them to push here. Zarya can walk up main and then they'd just be kiting from the same angle they're already kiting from the attack visor. Maybe they're gonna send someone horseshoe and like try and split these groups if they're optimistic. But again, like bubbles exist, Briggs over here, Rally exists. They have control of the Mega. There's no one on Shanghai's side ready to push this at this exact timing. So like, here's a situation that might make sense. Soldiers in a safer angle here with either Lee Jae-gong or Izayaki, ideally both, or actually Izayaki mainly, in a safer angle from a longer range, as Zarya is ready to push here with Bubble and Who Are You. Maybe Who Are You is like up here ready to catch them on the back end. Then, as a response to them trying to sniff out Who Are You and trying to sniff out Void by out-pressuring them in Horseshoe, they tack visor. This will split MN3 and Aim God from the rest of the team, making healing not impossible, but at least slightly harder. Same with Bubbles. It will probably force Zarya back around here, or it forces Zarya to self-bubble at best. And then the aggressive pressure from Who Are You and Void will either draw out Rally, but again, it won't kill anyone. This is still like not a play that kills anyone, but the aggression there will either draw out Rally, which then they can kite out, survive with their own bubbles defensively, survive with Izayaki's safe healing, maybe even a beat if they need to, if they re-aggress with their own grab, for example. And then, after all those things are traded out, then you re-aggress again with Void's Graviton. But there's literally no one doing anything right now, and Lip's using Tack Visor with no one on his screen. I'm struggling, Shanghai. I'm struggling to understand. The grab wasn't even on him. The grab wasn't even on Lip, and he still died during that. Yeah, the grab was on Cart.
Such an outpouring of damage, and now Void has fallen as well. That's gonna get this cart around the
You have to hope it's a fat finger, surely? Yeah, maybe.
Lip now in desperation, swapping over to the Widowmaker.
That literally makes way more sense than anything I could cook up. So yeah, maybe it was a fat finger. See, like, look, peak Brig gameplay. Oh, they've got a Widow, guys. Don't worry. No sight lines. They even bubble. Who's gonna? Are we worried about him like shooting a deflecting Genji? What are we bubbling this timing for? We have no idea what we're doing with Zarya. We really don't. Shanghai, I'm sorry.
Side of the fusion.
Here comes that rally now. I mean, there's so many ultimates with fusion because again they haven't been forced to use anything. So Nanovice.
Oh, I love this actually. High noon to survive the grab here means it's not only off. This is a strong return of serve. The grab comes out. We have Rally already kind of ticking, so we're already pretty safe. And the people caught in here are Briggs, Zarya, and Cassidy. The most vulnerable of those three being the Cassidy. Thank you, Scarecrow, for the resub. Welcome back to the Tika team. Wait, not a resub. Sub for 3 months in advance. Good lord, thank you. Huge support. Welcome to the Tika team. So yeah, the most vulnerable party member here being the Cassidy, who's not even honestly that vulnerable. He's got healing from Aim God pretty much uncontested. I don't know where Who Are You is. But the High Noon here, in case anyone missed the patch notes, gives Cassidy a 50% damage reduction. So this not only completely stabilizes your most vulnerable member, Zarya also has bubbles probably for themselves or for anyone else. There's also a Brig shield blocking headshots from Lip potentially. Lots of good things going on here. But you've got the offensive pressure from High Noon ticking that anyone trying to follow up this grab, trying to burn through Rally, trying to burn through bubbles, trying to burn through damage reduction, is on a timer. They've got a very short fuse. Specifically, Void has a very short fuse. Guess what? He's only got one bubble left available too. So even if he bubbles himself, someone behind him might get pressured out. Oh, this is a stressful situation for Shanghai. They're just trying to throw shit at the wall and see what sticks. And the anti-nade's huge, but Widow's dead. Zarya's gonna die. Zest finds a blade opportunity. Actually, okay, Zarya finally dies. And the map's over.
Now going to fall. Izayaki's taken out, and they have done it. They will make it.
It was a Hail Mary play from Void. They had not much else to run with. So I know he had to go for that grab. But just showing like how far of a deficit Dragons were in that situation. Really bad. Love watching the analysis. Awesome. Thank you for tuning in. I'm glad someone's enjoying them. It maybe enjoys my rants where I yell at the clouds.
Yeah. What is
damage reduction on Deadeye? I can't. Why did they even do that? I mean, to be fair, like Cassidy needed something, you know. He just like he just throws damage on the screen, which is okay, but he's got like no mobility to cover for it. So maybe buff his ultimate a little bit. It's still just his ultimate. I like to his ultimate attack visor. I compare to like they're more like tanking ultimates. It's like an AoE taunt. All it does is just make the enemy look at you and kill you. And if you don't have something that either prevents the enemy from doing that in the form of mitigation, like we just saw, maybe with an added buff to mitigation with a 50% damage reduction, or you've already burned out all their aggressive opportunities by burning out their bubbles early, by forcing out the defensive cooldowns early and stuff like that, it's really hard to find value with that ultimate. We draw the court. Not quite. Not yet. We can't force it, guys. It needs to come naturally.
It's not just the
AoE taunt or AoE fear. True. It's a little bit of both.
Chasing to spawn was primarily Lee Jae-gon there. I don't want to implicate Iziaki too heavily for it.
Cannot bring myself to care about cast. Fair enough.
How long did it take to get this one?
I don't think he needs to be a good hero. He fills a niche. He's an easy to play damage dealer.
Get the chance to use it to defend B. That initial fight on C,
same as Soldier though.
That occurred, that's when the sound barrier should have come out.
Hashtag draw the court. I'm gonna have make my I should make emotes that are just badminton references.
You need to start forcing Fusion's hand, drain their economy down, so that their final fight.
All right,
kind of ultimates
we're seeing the casting come out because we know who our use going to be on the Genji. We see Zest on the Genji, interestingly enough.
They kept
Ooh.
that going until the end of the map.
Okay, we're
Those are the
picking
same
Widow.
ultimates, mostly. They didn't have
Wait,
to spend anything.
I wonder if this is like a bait for Lee Jae-gon, because like Lee Jae-gon's fastest route back to safety is along the rooftops. I'm wondering if MN3 is gonna like grapple up and try and catch Lee Jae-gon with like a headshot on his way out, maybe even Fixa on the ground. Okay, this is enormous brain take, and I doubt this is actually gonna happen. But like, what if Fixa's ready to peek bottom, throw a Discord on Lee Jae-gon, hit him with the body shot from MN3, and then hit him with a body shot from Aim God, also peeking out main. How absurdly awesome would that be? But he's going to get out before it even matters. Yeah.
Lee Jae-gon just saying hello.
MN3 still going to go for the shot, see what he finds.
Slot MN3, at least off the start.
They see the Zarya up there, and he is going to commit to the Cassidy. Okay. Again, they know who are used on the Genji. They want a deterrent for him, even if that deterrent is just like forcing a dash early from a sticky bomb on him. It's more than enough. But also thinking about it defensively, if Who Are You dashes in and doesn't deflect the nade or the sticky bomb, those two abilities alone will kill him. And obviously Zarya Bubble prevents that, healing prevents that, Nano will prevent that, outplays will prevent that, obviously. But that's a pretty good deterrent. And Brig Bash. Forgot about that one. So lots of counter dive potential from those three heroes. Well, Zest and Fury kind of just do whatever they want.
I mean, 1 minute.
Not whatever they want, obviously. Well, they work the map, I should say.
Sort of distance on A, if they can't A, actually, that's huge because it's 1 minute versus 141. A cap on A actually might seal the deal for the 3-0. Zest wants to go over to.
I like that play to force Soldier back a bit. This is not a kill play, and I like the patience on the bubble from Fury. Did you see that? Like, Fury waited to see if Zest was actually going to get shot at, because they're expecting him to get bubbled. This is like the Reaper TP Big Brain matchup too. Like, if you're expecting Reaper to TP in and get bubbled, you're not going to do stuff like line up a Helix or a Sleep Dart or a Lucio Boop even. You're going to just get away from him. And Fury here is saving the bubble until he actually gets focused a little bit by Who Are You. And that maximizes Zest's that's a hard word to say, Zest's uptime window as much as possible by putting a little bit of gamble on whether or not he needs the instant bubble and instead maximizing his value for as long as possible. It doesn't mean much here, but just showing like the level of depth that can be put into Zarya bubbles here is really, really cool. And again, like, because of the Zarya bubble, obviously, deflect is saved.
First initial bubble. Who are you kind of low, though?
And look at all the space created just from Zest pressuring that high ground. Like, I don't think MN3's even really done anything. I don't think Aim God's found an aggressive angle for nades or anything, but Lip is forced to play really, really safe now.
Get topped back up here.
And he's just going to die. Just kidding, he's going to run the point.
Takes the sprint, rotates.
Why would you ever challenge this if you're Lip? You know he still has deflect, even without Zarya bubbles available. And again, you're just constantly hemorrhaging space. This, if you guys have ever played coordinated Overwatch, this is like the first place when you're talking about King's Row, you talk about how you avoid being caught in this corner. Every team who's ever scrims row knows that this is like the most common trap to fall into. And even worse than this is the common trap of being forced onto second point. You need plays that counteract this level of aggression by better map control over here. Like, why wasn't Lee Jae-gon with Lip? Does anyone need to be sped out right now? Is he amping heal on Void? Why does Void need healing this badly? It's not like Genji was there, you know? It's like, why are we just giving up every possible advantage if we're Shanghai? You know why it is? Because we're depending on people getting too much individual value. We're depending on who are you finding an aggressive opportunity. So we're posturing in the most aggressive position possible to guarantee that any aggressive opportunity he does find finds its maximum value. Same thing with Lip here. We're playing Lip on the most aggressive path possible so that if he finds value, our Zarya's right there. Our Ana's right there with the nade. And we find as much value as that could possibly find. But when a smart team marks that space and forces these people out, instead of being able to find your maximum potential, you're literally scraping the floor for any remnants of a team fight that you could possibly find. And you're playing against a goddamn Cassidy and Brig. These are super predictable and basically low value heroes in neutral because you know exactly what their potential is. But you're being chased around by a Genji? You lost all this space to a single Zarya bubble? Where are you going to come back from? Now, I'm guessing this is Void's second bubble because we know how much he loves to use self bubbles in neutral. How is Shanghai going to get back into this fight with no space, no defensive opportunities? Are we going to put it all on who are you? Does Izayaki need to anti-nade 5 people? I don't get it.
Brent rotates down to the low ground here with the rest of his squad.
Okay, no, he did have 2 bubbles, but he used them both for himself, and they got no opportunities to get back in. This is a purely defensive reaction from Shanghai, and it means they've got no counterplay to retake space.
The Fusion, still with 6 seconds remaining. They can just continue to play the point. Void falling low just around the corner.
Really smart play from Zest there. Look at all the attention and resources he burned just from this play. Again, Zest is not playing to just find a kill the same way Who Are You is playing. This is the difference right now. The DPS on Philly are playing also out of their minds, just like the DPS on Shanghai, but the macro play from Fusion is not dependent on MN3 and Zest killing everybody, like Shanghai is dependent on Lip or Who Are You killing everybody. Sometimes they do, and it's sick, but it's not dependent on this. And this play from Zest, I think, exemplifies that. Zest going aggressive here, if this is Who Are You, he either kills this Ana or they lose a team fight. If Zest goes in and he draws this attention, he draws the attention from Ana, she stops healing for 1 or 2 darts, maybe she's so scared she throws a sleep dart at Zest, and that's why he's dashing away. But not only that, the bubble comes out from Void. I think the bubble comes out from Void with the defensive dash and deflect from Who Are You comes out. All this positioning's giving up. And then it's MN3 that's actually following up. Well, all of their attention is on this Genji. MN3 just hits a nice shot. If it's not MN3, it's Fury walking up with higher charge and a bubble available that Void can't answer. If not him, it's Aim God with a nade. If not him, it's Fixa with a whip shot that keeps Lee Jae-gong out of position, and then someone finds a kill on him. The team-wide pressure from Philly is is way better in sync compared to Shanghai because they're not waiting for someone. They're playing for each other. They're going in with realistic expectations for how they're playing the map and how they're playing these engagements, so that it doesn't matter if one person doesn't hit their maximum potential because everyone else is contributing to the team fight at the same time. So much betterly. It's crazy how much betterly Fusion is looking right now.
Low just around the corner. Who are you is going to get picked. MN3 finds the opening kill.
And again, like,
coming in.
what is Who Are You supposed to do when Void's using all the bubbles for himself? What are they supposed to do when every nade is forced onto Izayaki and his team because they're taking so much damage? What is Lip and Who Are You supposed to do when they're always trying to come back from a deficit? Unless they've got ults, of course. When they got ults, they do whatever they want.
Nobody able to do it. Void will push forward.
But yeah, unless one person finds a unique opportunity that only they had access to, I don't see how Dragon is taking smart fights. And again, this is so important to note, I think. This is exactly why Shanghai Dragons was so strong in the Overwatch 1 meta in the Grand Finals last year. Because that meta was extremely fast-paced, was extremely dependent on individual pressure, and instead of relying on follow-up, it relied on reactions to people being forced out of space. The Ball Tracer Zen comp is what I'm talking about. That composition was so independent, and everyone had an opportunity to pop off because everyone was always looking to pop off. And you almost played just in anticipation of someone either getting value or being forced out, and then you reacted almost identically to most of the situations, honestly, where you could find an aggressive opportunity because someone else either found value or was drawing value out of the enemy. How many ibuprofen is Tick gonna need to clear his rage? You know what? I'm gonna suggest a poll out of my options, but you know what? Wait, not what I wanted to click. We're gonna do this one for Kobe. New poll. All right, Kobe, this is the last poll. Just for you. Here you go. Just what you wanted.
I mean, this is disastrous for Shanghai Dragons because, you know, this map could have already been over. We would have gone to map 4 by now. But we're looking at
And again, like, off of all these advantages, Philly's snowballing not only space, objective pressure, and all these things, but they're also getting more ultimates, and they're also... you know what? I can't even say they're looking better at the autonomy game because Shanghai Dragon is getting away with murder with some of their solo ultimates, so it's like they're doing really well when it comes to ult economy, but these base level neutral fights, they just have seemingly no idea what to do when they're forced to give up space.
If he gets caught on the ground. Or maybe they'll just nano Lip and who are you and just make a dry play now.
Lip just going to be playing here onto the high ground. TacVisor's still going to be 15% away. Waits out the bubble from Fury. Is the grab now going to be invested? Locks them all up, and MN3 comes rolling into the station.
For you.
2 quick headshots. They get the kills.
Absolute monster, but MN3 is still alive.
Yet, it would seem they pound through the Shanghai Dragons.
I mean, that was just an ult fight for Philly.
Really
I think Shanghai's pretty happy with getting grab out, to be honest, now that they're coming up on beat on their own grab. But the question is, will Zest and MN3 find value with their ultimates before Void is set up?
Right now.
This is already too far.
I think you might honestly be okay with like sacrificing Zest to get the grab out onto him solo. Like you go really aggressive, and then you follow that up with a high noon play and rally that tries to capitalize on the fact that they've got no space. So if they're forced into a defensive grab, so if Zest goes aggressive with a blade here, and they grab him and they absolutely kill him, sure, that limits their opportunity to get into the fight. That forces it all on Who Are You and Lip. I guess they've still got beat, though. That makes it tough. I don't know. They need to find really good value from Rally and High Noon here, I think, and neither of those ultimates lend themselves to obvious value, I think. So it's going to be really tough for Philly to do anything here. MN3 is a new name this year? Yeah, him and 2 other players, I think someone was mentioning, came up from a contenders team, T1. Wait, no, that was their other tank player I was thinking of. Never mind. Or was it? It was him and MN3 and someone else. Oh, 50-50 take. I'll take it. You have the ultimates available to just take an even fight. And we're starting another team fight with a flank TacVisor. A flank TacVisor that stops Lip's ability from being hit by beat here. Or those ibuprofen. Okay, so here are all the reasons this is wrong. Let me draw the court. So here's all the reasons this is wrong. 1, your DPS ultimates in this case should be what carries you and wins you the fight, not what starts the fight for you. If you're using ultimates to start a fight when you have better defensive, or I should say not even defensive, more survivable ultimates that draw out resources, like an all-in aggression from a beat draws out resources without costing your life. A grav play that threatens their lives draws out resources without threatening your life. That's lesson number 1. Lip's aggressive TacVisor, if used from main, doesn't draw out enough resources. For use from here, draws out resources, but costs him his life. Even if he gets a kill here, let's say he kills Zest and he's an absolute monster, or let's say like Zest isn't here and he kills Aim God, it's still an equalizing play. It still kills Lip because MN3 is going to turn, Zest is going to turn, Fury is going to turn, like, and the odds of this succeeding before you've drawn out any, again, this is why DPS ults are better used as closing plays, because this is a lot easier to respond to with like a single bubble even, or as we're seeing, single Genji aggression, or like a sleep dart at worst, or like Brig shield. Like the littlest of things can counter this aggressive play. And again, not only counter, but cost Lip his life. Second reason this is wrong. This is like such an aggressive play. And this is the type of thing that you would make when you're already behind. The reason you would make this kind of play when you're behind is because you need something outrageous to equalize a losing situation. When you're trying to force a winning situation, just like I said, you use the safer resources to do that. When you're losing situations and you need to equalize, you use the lower percentage plays. I put out a YouTube video like a year ago now about why people in ranked are so prone to losing fights in overtime. And it's because when you're in overtime and you start winning a fight, you start thinking to yourself, oh my god, if I just get one more kill, we win the round. The map's over. We're going to destroy them right here, right now. When the reality is, all you have to do, specifically as a DPS player too, is extend your advantage window for as long as possible to make sure that your influence is what turns the tide of the fight in your favor. If you're trying to start the fight and instantly get fight in your favor, unless you find like a one-shot like Zest is about to on Lip, that's not realistic, especially for someone like Soldier, especially for something like Attack Visor. There's no reason to force this level of aggression when you have not only other tools that would probably find more instant burst value or be safer to use, but also just completely gut yourself from any long-term carry potential in the middle of this fight. There's no exchange of resources here. It's either do or die right now for Lip. And I think we already know what happens. He dies. He doesn't do it all.
Flank, but they immediately dive in. Zest looking for the kill, and he's going to find it. Lip eliminated. Doesn't find any value from the ult yet again.
And then there's the Deadeye.
M3 with the Deadeye comes up with 2. Both supports are out of the fight. Void goes down. Who are you the
So
last one
sad to
standing?
see.
But he will
I don't
fall.
even have a
The
Badminton
point
reference
B
for
is
that one.
locked in. The
That's how
Fusion
disappointing I
are
am.
not yielding. They use everything that they have in the fight, but like we've been saying, this is already far too much distance for the Dragons to deal with.
Yeah,
Also,
I mean, at
Kobe,
this
as
point,
if you predicted me
Dragons
making
are
a
desperate.
meme
They're trying to do
Naruto
anything.
poll.
Lip gets another visor shut down. Goes back over towards a soldier.
Wait,
He's
is
got
this a
nothing to work.
spot? This has to be
They're
illegal.
trying to do anything. Lip gets another visor shut down. Goes back over towards a soldier. He's got nothing to work through. We're still waiting for the same
This is like the
blade,
Junkertown
same
spell, huh?
grab that Void Youth have had since B.
I guess you can stand on it. Wait, did M3 just kill Zest?
Got
You
nothing
can
to work
stand on
through.
this, so
We're
I
still
guess
waiting
it's-
for the same blade, the same grab that Void Youth have had.
Yeah, I think MN3 just killed Zest. What was his HP? Yeah, it was enough for a body shot to kill him, it looks like. Oh, wait, no, never got healed up. Okay, he probably reflected a right click into himself as well as this body shot from MN3. That's so unlucky.
Had since B, they need to get something off this. That's got to be one kill. Brilliant stuff with the Shanghai Dragons.
Yeah, where was the
Can they
badminton
convert?
arc in
They need
Naruto?
to.
Okay,
All right.
Grab is invested in the kills. Will come in. It seems
You
like
are
this should just
more
be
than
the
happy
end.
with
Who
this
are you?
attack if you're
Ends
Philly.
it with a Dragon
Coming in
Blade.
with a lower
They
time bank, getting it to
finally
third
stopped
point,
this card momentum right here.
even getting to the end of
inside
second
point
point. That's
C.
really impressive.
Good lord, who would have thought the Fusion would be able to make it this far with just a minute to begin with? Now, with a 41-second advantage, the Shanghai Dragons need to do the unthinkable
Shanghai's
as well.
playing
They
Overwatch 1
need
still.
to push this so very
And
far
I've got
or
no
the series
doubt
is
they're going to
done.
adapt and they're going to play a lot smarter, but this mindset needs to change from their DPS specifically,
This
but also
rate, I
just the
mean-
way they
Like, if they
posture
could take
so
attack more,
aggressively,
they would.
thinking that
That was
any
the game
attention,
for it.
specifically onto Void I'm
Shanghai
talking about now,
Dragons, 141
Void
to
postures
2
so
points,
aggressively, thinking that any pressure onto
they
him,
would need the
one, he can
most
stabilize for
incredible
himself with bubbles, obviously, that's fine, and with healing.
Sort of tempo,
But
pacing
thinking that
to
there's going to be an
outpace
immediate
Fusion
reaction from his
entirely,
DPS to
the
capitalize
snowball
on that.
offense.
When the
Basically
reality is,
everything the Fusion
he's
just
being
did
forced
there.
out of position
Well,
from really poor
Fury,
bubble management and
Graviton surge
not
again,
full
just
commitments
catches,
from the enemy
I think,
team,
3 people
so that his
in a
DPS
sort
are
of
also
mid-wave.
giving up space,
Usually
as we
you
saw in
can't
first
really
point,
catch
during
that
the moments
many
that he's
grabs
not only
and
giving up space,
what
but
they can
forcing his
further
defensive
damage.
resources.
M3 rolls in, double
The enemy
headshots
team is
on
not
Cash,
all
gets
inning
done and
Void.
dusted,
They're
and
playing to
somehow,
draw out those
I think
resources
because,
intentionally,
you know,
and then
Shanghai
reacting more
just
aggressively
lacked
when
the
they
ability to
take nothing
engage.
back
M3
in return.
sitting there close to medium range of this Cassie. Actually
Shanghai's
doing
being put
significant
off
damage.
balance by their
He's actually gone
own
back over
mismanagement of
towards Ash.
resources
Now, I
and
was
positioning.
definitely criticizing this a little bit earlier
And
on
it's because
when
they're
they
too eager to
originally
find the
were
aggressive
playing
play
Ash
first.
on this 8 defense.
So when
Didn't go
things,
well. The
again,
Cash
against
pushed away far
against
too
slower
easily.
team
Needs
or against a
possible
less
to succeed
coordinated team than
generally
Fusion,
isn't as
they
good
probably get away
as
with
a
this all
Soldier
day.
or a Widow.
But they are
He's gotta
not
try
ready
that
for the
again.
level
If
of
there's
coordination from
anything
Fusion
that Shanghai can capitalize off, it
and the
might
counter
be
aggression that
to
Fusion
get
is finding.
M3 off of this Ash again, push him out of the point, get that 5v4.
All right, well, he's going to see if it can work the second time around.
Why? What happens? Neither of you get charged. Neither of you do damage. I don't understand. Like, if you're going to play for this, maybe we line up a Dynamite, maybe we line up a Nade. But we're obviously not ready to fight here. I don't know why Fury's even holding this aggressively. I get maybe trying to hold this aggressively, try and bait this bubble, but then using your bubble in response is just kind of nullifying the advantage anyway. Why do Apex teams think Ashe is good? I don't get it. I don't get it either, personally. I think Soldier would be just flat out better in this situation. Or, again, keep countering Who Are You with the grenade from Cassidy. There are a few advantages, namely the Dynamite for AoE damage is pretty good, especially when bubbles are already used. The Dynamite combo with nades specifically as well. And the Coach Gun for getting away from Who Are You is a little bit of extra survivability, but that's not typically something you want to do. And I will say also Bob is probably a better ultimate than Tac Visor or High Noon in Overwatch 2. I think Bob's actually a really insane ultimate, especially for the way, like if Lip was playing Ashe instead of Soldier and he went on that flank and threw a Bob in, Shanghai maybe win that fight instead of instantly feeding, you know? You can do more aggressively with Bob. Tac Visor needs to be something that either goes uncontested or you're not expecting to find real value from. Real value meaning like kills.
Lip just right back over. onto the Soldier 76. A little bit of dynamite out. Nice little headshot there across.
It looks like MN3. So you don't see many Ashes doing this. Usually you see the reverse. But I haven't looked at Ashe in the Overwatch League in so long, so I don't even know. I don't think... This isn't new tech or anything. But he's lining up the unscoped headshot first and going for the instant follow-up scoped headshot. And that's one-shot potential right there. If he hits both these headshots on the Soldier, he's dead, right? And that's crazy. So it's like budget Widow in a sense, just way more mechanically demanding for that one specific shot. Ooh, goes down early though. That's going to be first point. How did Zest die as well? Okay, Zest just challenged. This is good capitalization. This is Zest overextending this time. I don't know why he was on the ground, number one, or why he was here without his dash available to get away from this damage, but down he goes. MN3 just got poked out because he was over-aggressive trying to peek. I don't know what Zest was doing specifically.
Have a good amount of time to work with here as well before we roll into OT.
And look who gets to play Genji.
Trying to get as much of a Dragon Blade
34 to Blade. They're definitely wanting Hurried to get played as soon as possible. They want it before beat, obviously. Or not beat, rally. I keep forgetting they're playing Brig.
Like I said, the Ashe wasn't
and now,
going to
yeah,
have a lot of value.
MN3 back on Soldier now.
Now that MN3 has just played that, swapped off instantly, doesn't do a lot at all. It's a poor meta read. That's going to be something the Fusion coaches need to address after this game. Don't go back to Ashe. It seriously ain't it. And that's giving Shanghai Dragons the opportunity now, because Shanghai Dragons get a super clean push. They do.
What? Zest? Who are you? What are these Genji players on, man? How is this allowed to happen if you're Shanghai? Why is Lip committing so aggressively here? He's taking damage from Zest's Reflect, I think. He took like half his HP bar. So look at Lip's HP and listen to the sound cue. I'm going to turn up the volume a little bit. Listen to the sound cue of Zest's Reflect right here. It's not who we're used because we can see his PV.
It seriously ain't it.
Look at Lip's... So here he got hit by 3 shurikens. But he's taking a lot of damage in return. The deflect starts right here. We can even see it. And look at it, Lip's HP. It's at half.
Shanghai Dragons the opportunity now.
And then it drops even lower. That has to be Lee Jae-gon shooting. And Lee Jae-gon's dropping low as well. And then they just become dash. Who doesn't have the trigger discipline to not shoot a deflecting Genji?
Super clean pusher. They do lose 2 though. That's pretty massive as Zest.
Who are you trying to go aggressive to equalize? But nope.
Just dashes through for 2.
Now you got 30 seconds and no ults.
Be the recipient of some nice little shurikens to the face.
They're going to spawn hold here and look for an easy N8, I'm guessing, trying to force the early bubbles.
The card hasn't moved at all. They say, yeah, we'll just sit on top of you. We've got plenty of time now.
Forcing him out.
This is huge because this is how they can charge up their own ultimates and timing-wise.
Oh, maybe I do know about this position. Nice job. Okay.
He even does an emote there as well. Void walks past. Can he even get a flank here? Izuyaki's a freebie for sure.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, he somehow manages to make it out alive though.
What is Izayaki doing there alone? That's so optimistic.
He even does an emote there as well.
Well, like the best, obviously the worst case scenario here, Izayaki dies, which I think he would have if he walked like one step further forward. Like maybe to the point that like if this whip shot from Fixa doesn't hit him and boop him into bubble range, maybe Zest even like gets the kill, which is like unlucky. But Fixa was going for the kill damage himself. He wasn't expecting him to live, I'm guessing, and that's really unfortunate. Because like one more shuriken hitting there means he's dead. So, really close. I don't blame Fixa for that, but he is the reason that Izayaki just barely survives there. But what the hell is Izayaki doing there in the first place by himself? Why isn't Void there with him, if that's the spot they want to play for an Onanade? Like, if they're trying to set up plays, actually set them up. Don't just roll the dice and see if they work, you know?
For sure.
Oh my god, he somehow manages to make it out alive, though. Gets himself back to safety with the OT.
Now, not only do they not have the position... Not only did Izayaki almost die, but they gave up the position, is what I'm trying to say. Sorry, my brain lagged.
Now rolling. They have to stay on the card.
And they know what... And Zest is also a maniac on Genji, by the way.
Oh, the deflect into the headshot there onto Izayaki. Shuts him down, the nano.
AimGod gets his ult off before he dies. They got a grab coming up soon, and yeah, there's just no stabilization on point. Goodbye, Void. That's the power of Brig. When people are forced into tight spaces because of the objective, because of overtime, and it's mid-fight, they're not starting the fight and just diving on Brig and burning all the cooldowns, she gets to swing around happily, and she becomes a bit of a raid boss to deal with. But you can't always force those situations from playing Brig. They're more common on defense, and they're way more common in overtime situations, obviously. But, my god. I still don't understand the Brig Prick in a lot of situations. I'm not a huge fan of it. I would have preferred to see a Lucio specifically on this map, especially. But okay, yeah, all the problems in this match are Dragon's fault. Philly played a very clean game, and their DPS absolutely popped off. MN3, potential rookie of the year, like absolute stellar performance from MN3 on multiple heroes, on the Widow, on the Cassidy, on the Soldier. Zest, going toe-to-toe with who are you on the Genji. Not as many highlight moments, but overall, I would say finding more value because it wasn't as dependent on the big plays. When Shanghai got the ball rolling and they were able to bounce off ultimates, who are you looked amazing. But Zest in the neutral, just like that play on their attack, forcing Lip out of space, like, that's awesome. That's all he needs to do in those situations. That play when he was like diving on a second point, he got all that space for MN3 to find that kill onto who are you, that's awesome. Zest's team play, Genji is looking way better than Who Are You's all-in Genji because he's able to do more and more often, even if he doesn't hit the same level of highlight montage plays. Who Are You, obviously an insane Genji. Like I said, argument is definitely there for him being the best Genji in the world, but no one's playing for him but him. And it's so hard for Shanghai to stabilize in all these losing situations when they're not setting up the space properly. They're demanding too much, not only from their DPS, from everyone. And they're expecting too much from whenever their defensive resources get committed, and there's no collapse happening because, again, like, Philly's not all-inning on anyone. If Philly was playing like if Philly was London and they were playing like a Rhine rush and they were just speeding onto Void and Void had to use 2 bubbles on himself, Lip and Who Are You would dominate them and they would farm every team fight. They would be landing 5-man nades because you don't get to do that in Overwatch 2. You don't get to just all-in. But Shanghai Dragons are acting as if they can instantly punish those situations. And again, like, this was telling even on the first map when Lip went for this play. Where was it? A little bit before this. Okay, no, it was right here.
Available. He's gonna need to buy a lot of space with that. I don't think
when Lip goes for this play, it's again like this is a symptom of a problem that was present throughout the entire series. Look at this aggression from Lip and look at the lack of follow-up.
This will be a second.
They're swinging a punch and they're breaking their arm. Not only is Lip forced out, no one is able to answer aggressively. This is a purely defensive move. So, like, this exchange of resources on its own, like a bubble and attack visor for a nano and a reposition, in a nutshell, on paper, that's fine. But there's no development after this. And then when you think about positions after this, Philly's able to capitalize on them being so grouped up in their little hidey hole over here that there's no stabilization from Shanghai that does anything meaningful in response. They even used a defensive nade to keep Lip alive. Sorry, I'm making sure I'm not saying the wrong names this time.
10 seconds remaining though, the bot again.
And then look, they just keep this position. They gamble everything on that play from Lip with 5 seconds left on the clock, which again is a stressful situation. It's hard to react to the spot. But then they just do nothing after it doesn't work, and they don't know what to do after it doesn't work. And they're stuck here. And then this happens.
Pushing forward, but they need to ride this out for a very long time if they want to get the win. OT comes up onto the screen, leading on a planet instantly.
And it's over. This was happening throughout the entire series. We see these all-in level plays from either Lip or Fleta or Who Are You on the Genji. And if they work, awesome. Team wipe. Good job. If they don't work, they've got no second option. They've got no stability left in the bank to try and stabilize, to try and come back from a losing situation after the fact. And they just fold entirely. It's really uncharacteristic of Shanghai to put themselves in such disadvantageous situations and leave themselves no other option. It's really strange to see. But when I think about Overwatch 1 meta and how dominant they were in that very independent dive, I guess that's a good name for it, independent dive with the Ball, Zen, and Tracer, they didn't need macro play as much, I should say. Obviously, there's a lot of macro play involved in that comp as well, but they didn't need the type of synergy that they need for a Zarya comp to work. I bet they would find more success if they literally played Wrecking Ball and Tracer and Soldier, or Tracer Genji kind of thing. They would probably find more success, at least in this match. I don't know how they've been doing in scrims. Like I said, if they were playing slower teams or less coordinated teams than Fusion, they're probably farming them just because they're insane players. But then the same is said for Fusion. They're probably farming other teams as well with the level of star power we're seeing. But they've also got the macro game to back it up in these tougher matchups. This, to me, looks like what might be the difference, and we're going to find out this weekend, what might be the difference between Glads and Shock. This being Shock with strong macro game, and this being Glads with lots of individual star power and potential and really strong plays on paper, but can they stand up to a team that tests their macro game, that tests the fights that aren't as obvious to find as when they're fighting like lower level teams?
Okay, fuck you, Tickety.
Calico Jax, thank you for the follow. So yeah, this was 100% Shanghai dropping the bag, and I've got no doubt in my mind Shanghai will look better than they did in this match in the future. I don't know if Philly will always look this good. Obviously, Philly has a history of being a little bit hot and cold. They've not been the most consistent team in the league, but they have been top-level contenders fairly often. So if Philly can keep up this level of play, and they can adapt to future metas, obviously, and they can keep up that level of coordination in different styles of play, I think this is looking like a really good year for Fusion. You mean Krusty's team is strong macro play? Who would have guessed? Zest and M3 have also played together for over a year already, so they know how each other plays and have the coordination already down. Yeah, again, like, for sure. And they're looking like just better team players in general. But I think the biggest thing, really, is that neither one of these players is, like, required to pop off every time the same way that these players are. And that's not only playing with each other, that's, like, team-wide macro play. That's just that's the deeper level of understanding of the game, the matchups, the players that play these players, how they're playing, how they play around Zarya specifically. I'm still not happy with how many self bubbles I saw throughout this entire series. I'm still mad about it. There's so many of them that just literally do nothing and then they fold or they just don't get enough. But Philly weren't getting punished by it because Shanghai were doing it even more and in way worse situations. So I want to see Dallas Fuel dominate this composition in a mirror against Fusion, but we're not going to see that anytime soon. Because I still think Hanmin's the best Zarya in the league. I still think their level of control over Zarya as a pick and their level of leverage over the limitations that Zarya has through like mix-up potential, it looks really cool and really strong. I do think it's only a matter of time before other Zaryas start catching up to that play. But even then, like, Dallas Fuel have the synergy and the coordination on par with Fusion that looked this game, but I would say potentially even stronger than Fusion. But it's so hard to compare them in such different regions and different levels of play. Oh, anyway. That was Shanghai Dragons versus Philadelphia Fusion. Main symptom, like I said, just over-eager aggressive plays from Shanghai, banking on too much expected value that didn't always land, and a very strong, lacking Zarya performance. Void's a good Zarya. Void's one of the best Zaryas. It's not enough to be an individually good Zarya. You need very strong macro play and very good understanding of how to use bubbles proactively more than reactively. Fax Machine, yes, unfortunately, we just finished taking a look at the series, kind of just summing up my thoughts. I'm very disappointed in Shanghai, but I do at least kind of understand, I think, why they're underperforming. And again, it's because of that. The way they were structured and their mindset going into Overwatch 2, I think just doesn't work. It worked excellently for Overwatch 1 when you had an abundance of resources and you could always depend on there being someone to follow up any opportunity. But now when your resources are very limited to the point where you've only got 2 Zarya bubbles as your main defensive resource, you need to be a lot stricter with your execution. And I don't think Shanghai is that strict with their macro. I think they play a little bit too flexibly, and they expect to get away with a little bit too much.